Ladies and gentlemen, John and I just got done talking about Death Note for 30 minutes, but we don't have time. We don't have time to talk about Death Note. We do not have the bandwidth this week to talk about Death Note here on the Rage Select podcast. Also, because that would make like the fifth time in like 3 months that we've talked about Death Note. I'm just not doing it anymore.
I just have no interest in talking about it.
I'm writing Death Note in the Death Note, and then
shit, the world's gonna implode.
Yep, that's right. It's just a big reset switch. But nope, you heard it here first. It's time for another Rage Select podcast, and I'm Jeff.
I'm John,
and we have a bunch of TGS news. TGS 2017 was this week. Fucking I didn't know until I was like, oh, what news was there? Oh shit, there was a lot of news. Oh,
yeah,
balls.
I think I saw. I'm trying to remember who I saw. I saw someone had like, I guess, a press conference or Sony.
Yeah.
And then like I saw like a little bit of trickle, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Huh? I wonder why there's so much news going, about new video games today. Oh,
yeah.
Well, that snuck up on me.
But we are going to go through these pretty quick because last week we literally didn't take any questions because Amanda and I did Nintendo and then we did everything else. So we can't do that again. We can't do that again this week. But before we get to that, I've got two quick things.
Oh, shit. Two quick things.
One, I wanted to ask you, John, have you seen the trailer for the Punisher, Netflix Punisher franchise? Okay.
No, I've heard about it. I guess I've seen like bits of it, like scrolling through Facebook. I just see the moving video, but I have no audio because I'm at work.
Right.
And I don't have internet at home, so
I was. They use one pretty effectively in the trailer by Metallica. A lot of the actual music, like they've kind of cut it apart, and in the beginning it's just very instrumental, and I'm just like, okay, well I can deal with Metallica as long as it's just the instruments, and then they start actually piping in. I've forgotten that over the course of them being shitheads, of Metallica being shitheads, I've developed a deep distaste for Metallica.
So I did develop a deep distaste for them.
Yeah,
but then when they released Metallica Guitar Hero,
okay,
I played it, and I actually realized that I really do like everything before Saint Anger. Like like Reload and Back. I like everything. Okay. Like I even like Load and Reload. Reload and Back. Like Metallica S&M was great.
How would you ever? Why would you ever name a product that you created Load? Why would you ever do that?
Yeah,
the jokes write themselves.
I do. Yeah, it does. But yeah. So and then like their new stuff, like Death Magnetic and Saint Anger or whatever the hell it's called. Yeah. I hate those albums. Like I listen to them and I just can't stand them. Like I don't like them at all. But I like everything prior to that. So I just pretend that they don't have any new material. And like I even went and saw that, what was it, Through the Never 3D, movie experience. I enjoyed that immensely.
Yeah.
Hated the songs from Saint Anger and Death Magnetic, but that were in it, but
so from this trailer, I could say it looks pretty good. I can say that I'm a little in this day and age, John, when we're very concerned about accurate representation of various peoples in the world, in movies and in video games and in everything that there is. It looks as though, let's see if I can find a picture of him here, as that guy right there is. I'm pretty sure that this is Microchip.
Okay.
And Microchip in the comic books is a big old fat guy, and this guy's a super skinny guy. Come on, okay. Put a big old fat guy in there. You want to. Make John Goodman Microchip. Well, he's not as fat anymore, but yeah. I just want a big fat man to be, Frank Castle's like a guy who helps him out.
Yeah. Though I did hear.
Yes.
The show will have the battle van.
Okay. All right. Well, that's,
one of the greatest Punisher toys of all time. The van filled with weapons, and he battles people.
Yes. It looks like Karen Page is still here, which is kind of a bummer, but I'm not seeing anything that looks like the Hand, and that's cool, because I'm fucking sick of the Hand. Like, if we could just have one Netflix Marvel show that doesn't have the goddamn Hand in it, I'll be...
Jessica Jones didn't.
Happy. Well, yes, well, that's true. That was the last one that I liked.
And Luke Cage didn't.
That's true. Luke Cage had its own problems, but yeah. Well, I'm just it was Iron Fist and then Defenders.
I know.
I
agree with you. But 2 seasons of Daredevil with the Hand, 1 season of Iron Fist, and then Defenders, which I still haven't.
I think it was only 1 season of Daredevil with the Hand because it was mostly Wilson Fisk in the first one, right?
No, the Hand was part of that as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway, well, this is coming out sometime this year, which is cool.
Yeah, I'm actually. You know what? I'll watch it. I still haven't seen Defenders because I don't have internet, but I'm going to be getting internet soon, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, that saved your ass, man. Every time Amanda and I update Agents of Mayhem, it stops working if you have like the pre-order pack and Johnny Gad installed at the same time. Apparently the 1.03 update to Agents of Mayhem makes it so the game will not run. So we've literally had to delete and reinstall Agents of Mayhem multiple times.
Yeah. I found that issue only happens on the PlayStation. I play on an Xbox.
Oh, okay. Well, you've got the Xbox Master Race over there. Number 2, before we get to the news, I watched Transformers The Last Night because it came out on VOD. And
that's right. You actually enjoy the Transformers movies.
I would amend that statement to say that I have enjoyed aspects of some of the previous.
Well, I mean, I don't mean like
movies.
that you're like, oh my god, they're my favorite movies ever. I just mean like you watch them and you're like, it was okay, or like, oh, that was garbage, but you know what, I had fun watching it.
That was up until the third one started to test that because it went on for so goddamn long. The fourth one I went to see in the theater, and it was just like, this is horrible. Like, I don't know.
I haven't seen the fourth one.
I don't know why I've got to spend so much time with Stanley Tucci being Bill Gates of Transformers, but like, who cares? Get to the Dinobots already.
The fourth one was the first one with Mark Wahlberg, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen the first 3, and I haven't seen anything else.
I would say stop at 1 and don't go any further. Boy, 5 was, I feel like it was a masterclass in how to not make a movie. Like, it's like 5 movies all jam-packed together, and they just say a thing. Like, they just throw information out there where you're like, what? There's like a cutscene that shows Bumblebee in World War II blowing up Nazis. And it's like 2 minutes, and then we're just done. We're just past that. We're on to the next thing. Here's another thing. Here's a flying wing. Oh, it's also like a 1940s like a US AF prototype flying wing that's also a transformer, and he gets all of like 10 seconds of screen time. And like, well, who's that guy? What's his deal? What did thing? So it was amazing how the movie moved so quickly and had so much dumbass information flying at my face at 1,000,000 miles an hour that I was just like, maybe you could pick 2 things, movie. Maybe you could pick 3 things instead of like 9 different plot lines. Oh, it's the story of Cybertron. Who is Quintessa? Where did she come from? Why is she able to hypnotize other Transformers and make them bad? That's in the trailer, and it's never really explained. Like, I'm just, huh? And then it's like, oh, Mark Wahlberg is a knight. There is literally a plot point in the movie, because it's called The Last Night, where Mark Wahlberg, like, it turns out that back in King Arthur times, like, the Transformers were knights and Arthur was hooked up with Autobots, right? I don't know what they transform into because they never explain that, even though they're the name of the movie is Transformers. What do the old Transformers transform into? Nobody knows. I think they might all transform into a big robot dragon. But, like, Mark Wahlberg is, like, the chosen one now. He's the last, like, of the human knights that are worthy to lead the Transformers. And when they kind of get into like why, they talk about, well, knights are like heroic and whatever, and he's like, oh, well, there's a lot of people that are heroic, and they're also chaste. When was the last time you had sex, Mark Wahlberg? And he's like, well, it's been a while, my wife died. They're like, see, you're the chosen one because you don't fuck. That's why you get to wield the powers of Cybertron, is because you haven't gotten laid in a while. And that little girl from that trailer, I don't know if you remember, there was an early trailer that was just like, I fight like a girl. She's the most worthless character in that movie.
Okay.
No, wait, there's one person who's even more worthless than her. It's amazing how bad it is. It's amazing because it looks fantastic, but it's unintelligible gibberish garbage. Like, Woof, man.
Some people are hoping that the Bumblebee movie will be okay because it's not directed by Bay.
Oh man, it is amazing. Like, it's almost worth watching just to go like, what? How did this happen? Who read this script and was like, well, none of this makes sense, but give him $4 billion or however much it costs. Like, he wanted to go fuck up Stonehenge to make this piece of garbage movie. He wanted to literally damage Stonehenge because it's a plot point. It's amazing. And don't even get me started. I'm just going to say, like, I know why Anthony Hopkins in this movie. John Turturro is back in this movie.
Yeah.
And all of his scenes happen at a payphone in Cuba. Like, he's not actually in the movie except talking to Anthony Hopkins from a payphone with a Cuban transformer, like, standing next to him. And there's, like, 4 scenes. It's like, how much did John Turturro get paid to stand at a payphone for, like, 4 hours and record all of his lines for Transformers?
Probably
5?
more than what's his name in the movie Phone Booth.
Probably more than I've ever made in my life. He probably has made more for those 4. Anyway, it was amazing, and I can almost recommend it because of just how bonkers stupid it is, and like, you got to kind of see it to believe it. But
Okay.
anywho, all right, enough of that. I'm sorry. It's so.
We got news to get to, Jeff.
So insane. Yeah, I know. But like, if the secret society if they're called, spoiler alert, spoiler for the new fucking stupid Transformers movie, if the secret society that Anthony Hopkins runs is called the Witwickens, and they literally are the people, like, since the time of Arthur, the Witwickens have held the secret of Transformers on Earth and blah, 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 blah. That means that Shia LaBeouf's dad was also part of a secret society. You know, the fat guy with his wife.
Well, I think the idea is that his grandfather was, but his dad wasn't.
Okay.
Like, his grandfather was probably part of that society, and then his dad, like, he kept his son.
Why?
I don't fucking know. Because they didn't want to bring Shia LaBeouf back into the fucking franchise.
I don't know.
I'm still trying to figure out where he went.
He just left. It was the end of Transformers 3, and he was like, bye, Felicia. Like, I'm out of
Because
here.
I remember the end of Transformers 3, it was like, Bumblebee will stay with you as your ever protector forever for the rest of your life. For Transformers 4, there ain't no Witwicky here. He gone.
Yeah. I'm still trying to get over the fact that in Transformers 4 they had to add in the plot where the guy was dating an underage girl and then, like, had the Romeo and Juliet law that if you started dating before you turned 18 or whatever, then it's not technically a sex crime. And I'm like, why are you... Make her 18. Make her 45. Say she's 612 or from another universe. Why do we need to have a literal plot point about dating Mark Wahlberg's underage daughter? That's so creepy. Why, Michael Bay? I mean, maybe I answered my own question. Anyway, sorry. I'm sorry. It's just so stupid. It's so stupid. It's too stupid for Jeff, and that's saying something. TGS 2017.
You know what? I do want to say something. Weird Al did have a song in the original Transformers movie, Dare to Be Stupid.
He did.
They took it to heart.
Well,
they dared.
No,
they dared, Jeff.
Look, go back to Junk Food Cinema. Transformers, the movie, is like 10 times the movie that any of the Michael Bay
Transformers. I agree. I love Transformers, the movie.
It's got a beginning, a middle, and end. It's got a bad guy. It's basically Empire Strikes Back. You've got 2 different plucky groups of new characters that we get to hang out with.
I'm just saying, like, Michael Bay heard the song Dare to Be Stupid and took it to heart. He dared.
The bad guy in the new Transformers movie is called Quintessa. The Quintessons are a thing. They're the little guilty or innocent from Transformers.
They're from the
movie.
planet of New Quintessa.
Yeah, and so, like, why did you name her that instead of just Cybertronia or Rebecca or, I don't fucking know, like, Gear Splat or whatever their stupid names are. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. TGS.
Tokyo Game Show.
Yes, Tokyo Game Show. It has happened. There is a lot of news. We're going to go over some quick plot points. I'm going to basically try to hit everything in this listing that I've got that we don't actually have a trailer to go over. So, boom, boom, boom. Actually, you know what? Okay. Yeah. Let's just do it this way. No, I tell you what. Let's do it a different way. I've changed my mind. What we're going to do is we're going to go over some trailers first, and then we are going to pick up any additional news. That way, we start with our best foot forward. So,
okay.
All right, one of the only big things, because a lot of this TGS, the Sony presentation was apparently just Japanese dubs of trailers that we've already seen, like the Red Dead 2 trailer and things like that. But one of the big announcements was Left Alive.
Yeah.
So this is a new game that is being made by Square Enix, and it's the character designer. Oh shit. Is the same guy that did all the character design for Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid.
It's got a very kind of like Russian robot action feel to it.
They released 2 different trailers.
Yeah, there's the one that's just a very like a teaser where it's just the Christmas hallway, and then it just blows up, and there's like a big war-torn city. But there's another one that actually has like what looks like, even though it's very specifically noted as this is not gameplay, as what the gameplay will look like. And it looks, I mean, it kind of has a little bit of a Metal Gear vibe to it, but I think it's going to be much more of just a mech shooting kind of third-person action game. There's like 4 seconds of combat in this second trailer.
Yeah, it looks like
showed.
I actually don't think you're going to be inside mechs at any point in this game. It kind of feels like it's just you battling mechs.
You're going to be on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, from that little clips of the trailer,
maybe it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be like one of the greatest games of all time that nobody remembers, Shogo Mad.
Oh, Shogo,
Armor, where you're going to have on foot missions and then like a couple of short.
That's also possible.
Mech segments. But it looks pretty cool. I mean, there's not a lot to it to get a person like super excited. I feel like. I mean, it looks okay. Like there's one point during this trailer where. Or during the action montage here, where the character is running in like the daytime, and that kind of looks meh. Like graphically, is just a little kind of boring. The nighttime stuff with the big mechs and the searchlights and stuff kind of reminds me of Metal Gear a little bit. And yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah. I don't know. Square Enix has been doing pretty good this year.
They've been you know they've had their games that have worked and their games that haven't worked, but you know. They've been having more games that worked lately.
Yeah.
So I applaud them.
Speaking of games that I want to work, we had a trailer for Monster Hunter World, a new trailer for Monster Hunter World. And speaking of Square Enix, it's a Final Fantasy as fuck trailer. Like,
yeah, but it's Capcom.
Yeah, it's Capcom. But like, this is more talking and story and characters and people going, everybody get up on that ridge, get ready to fire at the giant monster. Than I think I've ever actually experienced out of a Monster Hunter game before.
Yeah.
Which actually really makes me excited because I feel like a lot of times when you see a trailer for a Monster Hunter game, they usually have a very Japanese, like, look, now you've got a new weapon type and like, look at us attack these new monsters. There's like a version, whereas this is literally introducing, like I could show this to somebody who had never played Monster Hunter and they would probably have an interest because there's a bunch of characters and environments and like kind of nice, you know, what look like cinematics and camera angles and stuff like that. So if this is what they're doing, I'm wholeheartedly in favor, motherfucker.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I've never really been able to get into the Monster Hunter games, but I mean, I'm willing to give it a shot based on this trailer alone.
And then we also got a release date for it along with this. So January of next year.
Oh, okay.
It seems like most of the stuff that they announced at this is 2018. At least most of the Sony stuff seems like it was coming early 2018.
Okay.
So, but hey, at least it's nice to have something in January. January is usually a goddamn wasteland hellhole.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
But yeah, this looks really good. And even if you're not a fan of Monster Hunter.
So you heard it here, folks. Whenever this comes out that week, Monster Hunter every day.
Every 5 days of Monster Hunter? Oh, geez.
For 2 weeks straight.
For 2 weeks straight. Yeah, okay. 14 days of Monster Hunter. All sequential suspended. All podcasts suspended. It's all Monster Hunter all the time.
Lots of Matt Frank.
Just, yeah. And then, Matt, you have to go home now. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny how for a franchise, where did Monster Hunter start? Was it DS?
I feel like it was originally a PlayStation game.
Was it? Okay, let's take a look. Because
or it was like a GameCube game or something like that.
GameCube Monster Hunter. Let's see. A franchise Oh, okay. PS2, I guess.
I want to say, like I said, I thought it was like a PlayStation PS2 game.
Okay. PS2 original Monster Hunter was 2004 PS2. Have there only been Monster Hunter 2, Monster Hunter Tri, Monster Hunter 4, Monster Hunter Generations?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, and then there's been a bunch of spin-offs recently.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like it to work. I really would. Yeah. It's a franchise I've always wanted to get into, but I feel like a narrative hook would keep me going more than just the generic kind of challenge.
I get that.
Next up, we had a truly, I don't know. I thought this was a really stunning trailer for the single player campaign of Call of Duty World War II.
I actually agree with you on that. I actually thought that this trailer was very compelling. Like, it kind of made me go, I was like, do I want to play this? Like, I know it's Call of Duty, but it looks good.
They're getting real good at faces.
Yeah.
Like, their faces are just top notch in this.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Very little Uncanny Valley. I mean, I'll say that the actual contents of the trailer could not be more generic about just like, we've all got to stick together and like, oh man, the platoon for life. Like,
we thought we were prepared for war, but we didn't realize it'd be like this.
Go, push it up there, go. I mean, that's basically
them Nazis are hunting Jews.
Yeah, that was actually kind of an interesting part, though. But graphically, this trailer looks real good.
Yeah, it looks really good. Like, I actually kind of, there's a part of me that's kind of like, I don't know, I might want to play this when it comes out, or at least play the story, because I haven't played a story mode for Call of Duty games in forever. So
what was the last one?
Modern Warfare 2.
Modern Warfare 2. Wow. Yeah, it's funny because I actually started this trailer. I first saw.
No, I take it back. Black Ops, the first Black Ops. I did play the story mode for the first Black Ops.
Okay. I first started seeing this on the first time that I saw this trailer was on Facebook, and it was one of those things where it was auto playing, and I wasn't really looking at it. It was on my phone, and I was like, "Is this a new movie?" And I was like, "Oh shit, no, those are video game graphics." So yeah, I don't know. It looks real nice. Who knows? I mean, I think what Sledgehammer's last game was. What was their last game? It was last year was Infinite Warfare, and that was Infinity Ward. The year before that was
Black Ops 3, wasn't it?
Was it Black Ops 3 or was it Advanced Warfare?
Maybe it was Advanced Warfare. I don't know. It was one of those two.
Maybe it was Black Ops 3 because everybody got. Yes, it was, because I didn't even finish the campaign for Black Ops 3 because it was that nanotech magical bullshit. And so I guess Sledgehammer's last one was Advanced Warfare. So, I don't know, makes a certain amount of sense.
And then apparently the next game is going to be Black Ops 4.
There you go. Huzzah!
It's going to be set in modern day times.
Okay.
They're going to ditch the future stuff.
Okay. They don't know about the future. They don't know about the past. So we're going to get to kill some Nazis.
More Nazi killing!
Not just in a gritty World War II environment, which I'm really looking forward to, but in that absolutely bonkers Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus.
I am like so hyped for this game in a way that I never thought I'd be hyped for a game before.
This trailer, this No More Nazis trailer, is
fucking crazy.
It's so ridiculous. It's so,
but in the right ways.
Yeah, no, it is great. It's like all the gameplay looks like it's just exploding, shooting stuff, and a bunch of Nazi robots. We've got some blaxploitation stuff. Like, a lot of it actually kind of reminds me of Mafia 3 in some weird ways.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
But
a little bit more lighthearted than Mafia 3, but yeah, I agree with you.
I like what I'm seeing from all the characters. I like what I'm seeing from these guns that just seem like they make people explode when you kill them. I like there's the point in the trailer where he's like, I've got a nuclear bomb and a fire extinguisher. I like this kind of crazy weirdos.
So I actually saw another thing that I think might have also been released at TGS, where it was like a developer thing where they were just, it was like a static shot of the developers kind of talking about the game, the mechanics of the game. And I liked one of the things he said, which was, most games it's like, oh, you can, when we say you can play this game any way you want, most people are like, oh, I either play it and kill everybody, or I go stealth and don't kill anybody.
Right.
And he goes, that's not what our game is. Our game is designed in a way so that you decide, okay, am I going to kill everyone stealthily, or am I going to kill everyone up front, in their face?
Noisily.
There is no, I get through a mission without killing anyone. It's, no, you want to kill everyone.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. This looks incredible, and I just really can't wait to play it. As much as I am kind of looking forward to that new Call of Duty game, I'm definitely looking forward to this more than that. I mean, it's just a bunch of Nazi murder and robot dogs and people yelling, and I really dig it.
Yeah,
so
ditto.
Can't wait. Another thing that I can't wait for okay, so I've always been unable to wait for the wonderful franchise known as the Earth Defense Force, EDF.
EDF is great.
EDF. But there's a new Earth Defense Force.
Yes.
Earth Defense Force Iron Rain that is being made by Yuke's, who, if I'm not mistaken, don't they make the wrestling games?
Yeah.
They make the WWE 2K17 or whatever?
Yeah.
Like that,
well, I mean,
things?
they're yeah. Future media creators, yeah.
Do they make other stuff as well?
Yeah, they've made other games other than just wrestling.
Like what?
I don't know. Oh, off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay,
but
because this is like a real serious EDF.
Yeah, that's actually the thing that kind of threw me off about this is like it comes off less like the tongue-in-cheek sci-fi parody, but also action-oriented game, and more like a tongue-in-cheek version of Starship Troopers.
Okay. Yeah, who knows? Maybe
like there's no tongue-in-cheekness to it. It's just like, no, it's like we got to do this because otherwise, as long as we have a gun in our hands, there's still hope that we can win this battle.
I don't know. It's possible. I don't know. It's weird because it also looks strange that it's like EDF, but it's got like a lighting engine and like particle effects.
There's more detail to the characters. I mean, it's still not the greatest detail, but I mean, it's still pretty good looking.
Yeah, it's mostly just the lighting engine because the actual gameplay looks almost identical to previous EDF games. Yeah. But the fact that like there's smoke and that there's light and that there's all kind of craziness going on is really striking. I don't know. I like EDF. I mean, there hasn't been
a game.
I'm
to give this a try. Like I'm all for it. Like I like all the EDF games as well. So
maybe it'll be like super serious, but not taking like super serious, but in a funny way, where it's taking itself so seriously that you just can't help but like laugh at it.
Yeah. There was that. What is that? That Netflix show that just released. What is it? American Vandal.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually part of the reason why that show is so funny, because it takes itself so seriously that it's actually hilarious. So
maybe it's actually watched that.
Oh, you should. It's good.
Looking at it, it looks like it's been a while since they made anything that wasn't kind of wrestling related. They made a Real Steel game in 2011.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
That
was garbage.
The movie. Yeah.
That was garbage.
Anyway, but yeah, this looks pretty cool. I'm a big fan of EDF, so
I'm down.
Go with it. Moving on, there were a couple of so it appears that we had a couple of PlayStation 2 HD 4K remasters with added VR support, and they're both a little bit of a The first is Zone of Enders: The Second Runner, the second Zone of Enders game, and this is subtitled Mars. Zone of Enders: Second Runner, Mars, but the A in Mars is upside down, so it technically makes a little V and then the R by thing. I like Zone of Enders.
You know what? I never played the second one. I've only played the first one. So getting to play this one, and also the fact that I do have PSVR, the fact that I could also maybe play it with VR.
Yeah.
I'm down. I'm okay with this.
It says you can play the whole game, the whole thing in VR, which is nice, and probably a testament to the fact that Kojima is so like detail oriented. It's a fun game though. I remember playing it back when it originally came out. It holds up pretty well. This does suffer a little bit of the same kind of Shadow of the Colossus syndrome of like they did put out an HD version on the PS3 of Zone of Enders, and now they're putting out yet another version on the PS4, kind of triple dipping. I didn't actually get a chance to play that.
Yeah, neither did I.
It's also going to be kind of interesting to know how this works in VR because I feel like it's a game that's kind of made to have a situational awareness, and that it's going to be in first person. So, I mean, you can be swinging your head all back and forth, looking around, trying to find where the enemies are at. But it looks like it's just a straight like control scheme option as opposed to like this mission is
use them waggles.
So, but I'll check it out. I mean, it seems like Zone of Enders 2 is a really fun game anyway.
No, I'm excited.
And then additionally to that, another one that I feel like just kind of came out of nowhere, Gungrave.
Yeah, I don't.
Gungrave.
So I like Gungrave, the game, the first game, because I actually bought it when it came out. Like, I think I went to just a Best Buy, and I think I used a gift card to buy it, and I bought it kind of like didn't know anything about it other than the character designs were all by the dude who created Trigun. And this was like before the anime had come out or anything like that. And
PS2 game came out in 2002.
Yeah. And I actually really enjoyed the game. Like, I played it beginning to end, like totally really dug it. And then the anime came out, and the anime was a prequel, and I didn't really care for that. But
and this is like, it looks like a combination of like third person and then also some first person aspects.
Well, I feel like the third person stuff is actually the non VR things, and everything that's in first person is how it looks in VR.
I don't know. It's. So, I don't know. You're going to have to go look up. I don't remember enough about Gungrave outside of what the guy's carrying. He's got like a big coffin over his back.
Yeah, it's filled with guns.
Yeah, kind of Django style.
And he's kind of undead, sort of.
Yeah. It was, I remember it being a fun game. I think I played it. I don't know if I beat it. Probably. I beat just about everything that I played back in those days. It's a real strange choice of a thing to resurrect.
Yeah, I agree. But having said that, like with the Zone of Enders, it's like, you know what? It's VR. I'm all for more VR stuff.
Yeah. I actually got 2 VR games this week that both ended up being no bueno, so I'm gonna have to start picking a little bit more carefully.
I'm looking forward to having internet again so I can actually get some new VR games.
Yeah. All right. Well, next up, speaking of games that have a VR component, we got a trailer for Resident Evil 7's Not a Hero, this actual gameplay video where it looks like old Christopher Robin Redfield is going down into that mine from the end of Resident Evil 7, and he's like, "Oh man, we sent our guys down here, but we haven't heard from them. I wonder if everything's okay." And it's like, of course it's not okay, you fucking idiot.
Oh, zombies.
You're
those.
Chris Redfield. So there's a lot of kind of like walking around. I can say that seems kind of strange because I want to know how long this is, because it seems like it's just a combat challenge. And I think it got me thinking about Resident Evil 7, and like if Resident Evil 7 doesn't have the family, if they just have the big goopy monster things, that's not as interesting, because those were like those were interesting in a gameplay way of gating you from areas, but not as a...
Yeah, this also seems more like somewhere in between Resident Evil 7 and then Resident Evil like 5 and 6, where they were like super... Because it kind of also feels like this is very action-packed a little bit.
Yeah. Like Chris has like melee attacks, and obviously he's starting with like, shotguns.
And I'm totally okay with, because of the fact that, Chris is a trained soldier, so he would have more combat capabilities than what's his name from the first movie, who's just what was he, a reporter or something?
I think it's just the guy.
Yeah, it was like whatever his day job was.
I think he was
just a dude.
I don't know if they went into that. I mean, it was just like he was going there to bail out because
he was going there to find his fiance or his wife or whatever.
She was posing as a reporter, but then she had a backstory where she was more than she seemed. In any case, this trailer also shows a kind of a big version of the kind of poopy poop monsters that Chris shoots a bunch of times, and it doesn't die.
I'm disappointed that not once does he shoulder check a boulder. I mean, there's all these rocks around. And at no point does he go, "All right, I got to fight this boulder and shoulder check it."
Yeah. Punch it a bunch of times.
I don't feel like this is Chris Redfield.
This isn't the Chris Redfield that I know, God damn it. What is this? Anyway, this is totally free content, so I don't know. You just want to get...
I'm being facetious. I think it looks good.
Yeah, I do too. I kind of want to break out my Resident Evil 7 and kind of do and kind of look at the whole package over again. Like I kind of want to take all of the DLC and once it's all out, and then also try to play back through it in VR without getting too scared because it's too scary.
It's tough.
It's too scary.
It's tough.
Ni no Kuni 2 has a new trailer, but I didn't really watch it, so I can't really comment on it. Ni no Kuni 2 looks good, looks better than Ni no Kuni 1. I hope that is better than Ni no Kuni 1.
Also, I think the last time we talked about Ni no Kuni 2, someone pointed out that the guy you were like, oh, and the main character appears to be older. And it's like, no, that's not the main character. The main character is the little blonde-haired kid.
He is older than the kid in the first game who was like 9.
Okay.
And, like, I don't know.
It's just like you were talking about you thought that the other guy was the main character because the trailer focused on the other guy.
Oh, maybe.
And it's like, no, that's just another character. This is
what it really comes down to for me is if it's a baby story, if it's a precocious story about a world where some kind of whimsy has made the people depressed, but you could fucking keep it. I'm not going to play it. Like, I'll play it for the dojo, and then anybody can have it. I will mail it to you.
Don't tell your fans that,
but
because you'll get emails.
If it's a game that has where I don't have to rely on being like, oh wow, that's so charming, and I'm blown away. Ha ha ha! Then I'll play it. But I'm not for that other thing where there's a little big nose elf that has a Scottish accent and rhymes, and he's fucking talking about shit. Fuck that. And the bad guy makes people depressed. That's not a threat. It's not a threat. It's a mood disorder that you go to a psychiatrist. It just sorry.
Okay.
Nobody's really insisting that I like Ni no Kuni 1. I just remember when it first came out, there were people that like it that were having none of me not liking it and none of me not playing it, and I was like, no. Speaking of children, I will tell you what game that has a child in it that I don't hate, and that is Yakuza Kiwami. And speaking of Yakuza Kiwami, there's a new trailer for Yakuza Kiwami 2 at TGS 2017. Look at that.
Yeah, it looks really good, too.
Expert
it kind of looks a little bit better than Kiwami.
It seems like the lighting engine's been beefed up a little bit. Like they may have taken what they learned from Kiwami 1 and then applied it. Because the faces look similar, but it's mostly, again, I feel like the lighting is making them all seem a little heavily.
I still need to borrow Kiwami or Zero or both of them from you at some point.
I found my copy of Zero.
Nice.
Yeah. I apologize to the person that I was like, hey, can I get my copy of Zero back? And they were like, did I get that back to you like months ago? And I was like, are you sure? They were like, yeah. And then I found it behind Resident Evil 7 or some bullshit.
Sweet. I want to borrow that from you.
You're right, though. This looks good. I mean, it looks like crazy goddamn Yakuza. And, hey, you know what? Yakuza is on a roll because I didn't play it, but Zero got really good scores. Kiwami was great. You got Kiwami 2. We got 6 coming out the beginning of next year, I believe.
Yeah,
so.
I'm excited because a lot of the face likenesses that they use in the game are a bunch of wrestlers from New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, they play a bunch of the Yakuza characters.
Yeah, that's cool. Anyway, though, this looks pretty freaking fantastic. And if you've ever had any interest in this franchise, it seems like a great time if you got a PS4 to go get started because Kiwami was like $30 and like Zero's out there, and Kiwami 2 I'm sure is going to be like $30. It's coming out.
I'm kind of hoping they go through the entire franchise. They released 3. Did they release 4 on PS4 or was that just PS3?
4 was a PS4 and 5 were PS3 games.
Okay.
And then 6 will be the first. No, well, Zero's technically the first PS4 game.
Yeah.
But 6 will be the next numbered game. But yeah, I'm with you when I say that I kind of hope that they do
3,
I think
4, and 5 as Kiwami.
Yeah, because it's they've actually put a fair amount of time into it, and I really like that. Apparently, though, Kiwami 2 is coming out this year
in Japan.
In Japan, okay. So
I don't think they've announced a U.S. release date for it yet. But I know, if I'm not mistaken, I think Kiwami did good enough that they're like, oh yeah, no, we'll totally release Kiwami 2.
Well, I feel like it's not that difficult because since they don't do the voice translation because it's just subtitles anyway, so it's not a huge localization effort.
I'm almost willing to bet that we'll hear about the U.S. release date for Kiwami 2 at Sony's experience, the Sony Experience thing later this year.
Oh yeah, because they'll probably do that
because that's what they did last year with Kiwami.
Okay.
Because they announced we already knew when Kiwami's release date was for Japan, and then they came out saying, and the release date for Kiwami in the U.S. is going to be blah blah blah, and then I bet you they'll do that again this year.
Okay,
for 2.
Speaking of things that are big in Japan, how about Dragon Ball Z?
Hey, I am a lapsed Dragon Ball Z fan. Like I was all about it when I first got into anime and stuff like that, and then slowly grew out of it because I think Dragon Ball Z as a kid, as a younger person, is a good gateway into anime. But this looks good. Like as a fighting game, this looks good.
This is the story trailer for Dragon Ball Fighter Z. I have never seen a story trailer with less story in it. It's just like a bunch of images that
a bunch of cutscenes.
I don't know. Apparently, the new bad guy is that chick from Team Rocket.
It's a female android. It's a new female. I think it's like Android 24 is her name, and she is actually designed by Akira Toriyama. Is that how you say his name? I don't fucking know. But it's a completely new character that was created for this game, and then he came in and designed the character, the look of the character, so that it would match up with everything else.
Well, that's good. I don't want it to be like Sonic or Mario Odyssey, where it's like, she's super detailed and everybody else looks like Dragon Ball. It looks really incredible. I mean, if you've skipped over a lot of this stuff, this is going to be Arc System Works' they're so good at making 3D stuff look 2D that it's a match made in heaven. So
I am totally on board for this, and every time I see something from this game, I want it that much more.
Yeah.
So I am totally down for this game when it comes out.
Okay. And let's see. We also had a trailer for the Final Fantasy 15 multiplayer expansion Comrades, which I think, I read correctly, takes place after the main story game. This is the last of the 4 DLCs. You had episode Gladius, episode Prompto, episode Ignis, and then
multiplayer expansion Comrades.
I mean, this is a multiplayer thing where you and 3 other people can kind of wander around and do these subquests together, and then kind of do the fighting in the overworld. But your character, the other characters are controlled by people. You can play it offline, but it seems pretty cool. Apparently the character that you're playing is like an ex-Kingsglaive member or something that's trying to find out what happened to Noctis. I don't know. I mean, like, I have a real quandary because I really, really want to like Final Fantasy 15, but I need them to tell me when they're done. Because over the course of this year, they've had those 3 DLC packs, which seem like they're pretty big things. They're obviously adding in that VR fishing, which is going to make the game just, tons better. You got this, and then they had...
I feel like there was some sarcasm with that.
No, I'm 100% serious. Assassin's Creed, the Power Ranger costumes, like they're supposed to go back in and like add more voices.
You can't call them Power Ranger costumes.
They're Power Rangers.
They're power suits. They're power suits.
Okay, all right, yeah. And I kind of just
Saban will sue you.
I almost want them to. You know what? No, I know what it is. I need Final Fantasy 15 when they get done with all this bullshit to release the complete edition of Final Fantasy 15, and I want to try it out again and see if they fixed it, because it seems like a lot of people really like Final Fantasy 15. It's just not really the sort of game that I don't know. It's so different than all the rest of the Final Fantasies in a way that I don't think is very good. But
I would say don't force yourself to experience it just because other people like it. Apparently you can run around in a chocobo costume.
Yep. Speaking of Final Fantasy, part of the Sony thing was that that version of Final Fantasy IX that they put out on the PC and on cell phones is now out on the PS4. That was their "and it's out right now" moment. So if you want to go in, apparently they've got like an auto battle system. They've got a skip random battle system. This is actually one, I think Sarah and I played like 2 parts of this for patrons. I've never actually played all the way through Final Fantasy IX. It seems to have a lot of goodwill. Like, I don't ever say Final Fantasy IX, and then people spit on the ground and go, "Fuck that game! I hate that game."
It's the one. I will say this: it's the one game that I know more people who haven't played it.
Yeah.
Like more like hardcore, like, oh man, Final Fantasy is the best. I played all up to Final Fantasy 8, like, you know, and I played and then like everyone's like, and then I played 10. Did you play 9? No, I kind of skipped that one, but I keep wanting to go back to it. And then the other half of the people are like, oh no, I played it. It was really good. Like, and that's all they'll say. They're like, oh no, it was really good. I liked it. It's a good game.
Yeah, I don't know. The other issue, of course, is that you know, the length of time that it takes to play a Final Fantasy game is one does not simply just be like, man, I think I'll play Final Fantasy 9 real fast tonight and tomorrow and be done with it. Speaking of Final Fantasy, we're still talking about Final Fantasy. There was also a new trailer for Dissidia NT Final Fantasy.
Oh, okay. It's the fighting game thing, right?
Yeah, which is the one which I actually played Dissidia 1, and then there was like a re-release expansion type of thing on the PSP.
Like, yeah, it was like, weren't they PSP games or something?
Yeah, and I enjoyed them. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to this because it's interesting how Dragon Ball has had games like this, Naruto has had games like this, where it's like a fighting game, but you're in a big open arena and you kind of fly around. Neither one of those really worked for me, but because I like Final Fantasy quite a bit, it seems like I was a little bit more amenable to being like, oh man, I want to get all of Cloud's special costumes and level up his Buster Sword. The one thing that we got out of this, though, is that they are adding Noctis is going to be a character in Dissidia NT, which shouldn't be surprising to anybody, but you know, because there's one representative from every one of the Final Fantasies in there. Considering how hard they're pushing 15, I have no doubt. You know, I had no doubt that they would
include him. Yeah, no, I get that.
So, all right, let's talk about some of the other stuff that came up and just do kind of a quick summary.
Sure.
I'm just going to run down a wrap-up list that I found here. Let's see. Shadow of the Colossus has a new trailer, which we don't need to watch because you and I have both played it 100 times before. Yeah. If you haven't played it, you go watch it. It looks good. I mean, you know, Shadow of the Colossus HD and then remixed again. It's Blue Point. There's a local dudes. They do good HD work. They did all the Metal Gear stuff. So, like I think we said exactly the same thing last time. If you've never played Shadow of the Colossus, you should. If you've already played Shadow of the Colossus, the reason to buy it a third time on the PS4 is a little, what if they put VR support in Shadow of the Colossus?
Oh, God.
That would be awesome. And you could climb up the Colossuses, but it was like, then you could look down and see like how far above the ground you were.
Oh, God, the vertigo.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And then it's like swinging its arms. Like, man,
that'd be terrible.
No, it would totally work. It would totally work. Ooh.
And you have to use the move controllers to climb up.
Yeah, you got to literally climb with the two move control. Oh yeah, and when you're on the horse, you use like one hand to drive the horse, and then your other hand to like swing your sword. And when you have the bow, and then you have the thing where you have to stand up in the thing. What about when the flying Colossus comes down? And you have to jump and grab it off your horse, and then it fucking like whirls up into the sky. Man,
this sounds like a bad idea.
Man, throwing up everywhere, just everywhere.
Vomit for days.
That's right. Let's see. But I don't actually know that any of these are actually. Some of this might not even be worth talking about. Like they had the VR trailers for like the Inpatient, all the Supermassive things. And it was just the same trailer in Japanese that we saw at E3.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Fist of the North Star, I think we saw that from the Yakuza team, Earth Defense Force. There was a new Detroit trailer, your favorite, John.
Oh, David Cage.
I know how much you love. You know, it's funny because I was watching that and I was just like, man, this looks good. I'm kind of excited. And it's like, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I keep falling
David Cage is able to do it. I don't know what it is. Like he gives you a moment of like with trailers going, you know, this could be good. And then you play it.
And you're like, oh,
and then you play it.
Shit.
I will probably play Detroit Become Human because I'm a glutton for punishment. Here's the thing. I liked Heavy Rain. I liked Indigo Prophecy. They've got problems. They've got tons and tons of fucking problems, but I like them. I don't really care for Beyond Two Souls that much, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. There is actually though a new 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim trailer,
Oh, okay.
which is the new Vanillaware game. Oh, this list that I'm looking at kind of sucks. They did confirm Dragon's Crown is coming to PS4,
I did
which
see
is
that.
cool. So Vanillaware's got a couple of things. So this 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim has actually been in development for a while, and this, we've seen a lot of these, like, it's little anime people, little anime boys and girls running around in a town where it looks like there are a bunch of mechs doing stuff. There was kind of a weird thing that I noticed in this trailer, because apparently these kids drive mechs, I think.
Okay.
And then there's going to be something going on with that, but they didn't actually show any of the, like, combat or anything.
It's just them walking.
It goes on like this for a while. It shows all the different characters, which, they're interesting looking characters. It shows a little bit of the mechs.
And it even showed the mech fucking walking.
Yeah, they show.
Man, even the trees walked. No.
They show a couple of the mechs, which seem like they're actual 3D as opposed to the 2D. What I find interesting, though, is when you watch this trailer, it appears that the children have to pilot the mechs naked because Japan.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
that's a thing. Not much more information. I don't know.
It's to reduce friction, Jeff.
Sure, yeah. Well, if we have to, our bodies have to touch the cybernetic inputs directly, right?
Yeah, it's the goop that's
to reduce the lag, obviously. Yeah. Or Vanillaware, because Vanillaware fucking don't give no shits. So, yeah. It looks interesting. I like Vanillaware. We'll see how it goes.
There's actually one game from Japan that I actually have been like kind of curious on hearing more about it, but I haven't heard anything in a while.
What's that?
A city cast in shadow or shrouded in shadow or something like that. Which is basically kind of like this kaiju game, except you're playing a person on the ground floor while all these kaiju battles are going on.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's like I see something about it every now and then, but I haven't actually seen any major.
Is it on Matt Frank's Facebook page?
Sometimes, yeah. But I'm actually interested. I think that's kind of interesting, an idea for a game. And I think it comes out either before the end of this year or in Japan anyways. I don't think it's ever going to come out in the US. So I think it's probably going to be something Matt's going to have to import or something.
Yeah.
But I'm actually interested in that, and I wanted to know more.
Fair enough. Well, I think that's a lot of it. There are a couple, there's a God of War 4 trailer that I haven't watched, but it seems like I'm not seeing.
Kind of looks like the same stuff we've already seen.
Yeah, I'm not seeing much here that I haven't already seen. So, anyway, there's a few more things that came out in the news this week, and we're going to run through those, and then we're going to take a break. So, we talked about Final Fantasy 15. A great report for people that I feel like is well deserved. Apparently, Square released a thing saying that Nier Automata passed all their expectations, sold very well, and they're probably going to be investing in it as one of the new franchises that Square puts out.
Strong potential as a franchise.
As opposed to just a one-off, we funded this one thing that got made. So you know what? For the people that really thought that Nier Automata was the bee's knees, the cat's meow, the cat's pajamas, the something else with cats, that's great news. I think that Nier Automata had some pacing issues, and I still have yet to get to C mode, which apparently is where things get really awesome. So they make you play the game once, and then they make you play the game a second time, and then the third time is where things really start to get interesting. So I haven't gotten to that point yet. I'm hoping that I can before the year is out, but I don't have much time left because we're almost done. So yeah, good news for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's great news.
Yeah. More good news, or I don't know. You could
It's news.
think that it's good news, or maybe not. So Steam reviews. When you look at a Steam game and the review at the top, it says mostly positive, mostly negative, overwhelmingly positive, overwhelmingly negative, neutral. There's a few different things. Well, apparently, whether this is a direct response to people going in and
Review bombing
Firewatch because of the PewDiePie thing last week, Steam has integrated a new feature in their reviews called the histogram, where you can basically take a look at a timeline of when reviews came in and generally whether they were up or down vote reviews. So it's a way for them to basically combat, a developer says something on Twitter, and then that day everybody goes to Steam and downvotes the game, and so now it's got an overwhelmingly negative thing. So you can look at it and then see, like, if there was a huge spike on one day, you can go see what happened instead of just seeing that it's overwhelmingly negative, which I think is a very cool feature.
I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. I don't know if it's the thing that's going to fix those problems, but it's definitely a welcome addition.
I don't think anything's going to fix the problem. Well, I don't entirely know, but if it still says overwhelmingly negative, right?
Yeah.
Like if I still search for Firewatch and now Firewatch says overwhelmingly negative, then the onus is still on me to then go into that overwhelmingly negative game and check the histogram to see what's going on.
Yeah.
It's a tool, but the damage I feel like could already be done by that point of me just going like, oh, I thought that game was good, but I guess it's not. So we go to the next one.
Yeah. Like I don't see it as a good thing or a bad thing. I just see it as a thing that's. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't know if it's a good thing, but it's not a bad thing.
Yes.
Let me put it that way.
Yes. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Yeah. I don't think. I mean, it's nice to see Steam is trying.
Yeah.
It still seems like they're just, man, they're willing to do anything they can to not have a person moderating their services.
Yeah.
It's like YouTube, where it's just like anything that can be automated, no matter how bad it is.
I think much like YouTube, it's that there's so much out there that no one person or even one team of people could legitimately do that in a timely manner.
Yeah. Steam makes a lot of money.
They do. They do.
But
you know.
I take your point. All right. Speaking of moderation, last week we talked about the changes that were coming to Overwatch via player feedback for banning people, and then also console reporting of people. Well, apparently, this has now come into effect, at least on the Xbox One. So the Xbox One apparently has a reputation system.
Yes, that's been there since Xbox 360.
Okay, where if you're reported for poor behavior, you get like a reputation. There's like a gradient of reputation.
So people can interact with you by, like, if you don't like how someone's being, like if someone's just being a dick on the voice comms and they're just being assholes, you can actually go and instead of like report them, you can say, I don't like this person, and you can actually say, because they're being vulgar, because they're being stupid, because their microphone is broken. Like you can actually say, I'm rating this person poorly because of this. And you can also go in and say, I'm rating this person positive because I really had fun playing with them.
Right.
And I don't want to be their friend, but they were a really good person.
Yeah.
You know, up to play with. Like, you can do it both ways. So and then that status, like, is universal across all games, like that, whatever that you're ranked as. So, and it was their way of saying, okay, if this person is a shit player in every game he plays, people are going to know it.
Right.
Because when you look at a person's profile, it tells you whether they've been rated as being a good person or a bad person.
Okay. Well, apparently, if you have a reputation of avoid me on the Xbox One, now in Overwatch, you are forbidden from voice comms. You're just not allowed to fucking use voice comms.
I'm okay with that.
You're just muted, and you can't be unmuted, and that's the end of it. I'm okay with it in general as well. I think that a lot of it kind of goes back to what we were just talking about with Steam and with YouTube, where I just want to make sure that people that reputation system doesn't get abused as a tool to go after people who have done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I don't engage in voice comms in Overwatch at all, so it's not a problem for me. I understand what you're saying, you know, when you say group up on me, Soldier 76. But it is nice to see them, you know, making an effort and following through.
And you know, I actually like the fact that a game is actually using that built-in function that the Xbox already has, because I feel like for the 360, a lot of games used it, and then with the Xbox One, a lot of games have just ignored it or pretended that it's not there. And I feel like it's kind of one of those things that I feel like, you know, it's good to see someone going, hey, this function is here, it's there, it's been there. Why don't we use it?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't have a segue. No segue. Usually, over the course of a week of news, we have a few different like announcements of things that are announced or things that are delayed or things that have a release date or whatever. This week there was one big thing, and that was that Vampire game by the Don't Nod, the original Life is Strange team, has been pushed back to 2018, so it's no longer coming out this year.
It sucks, but also I'm not surprised by it.
This is also the time of the year where this shit starts happening.
Yeah.
Like where they were going to be putting stuff out in the last quarter of 2017, and it's going to get pushed out to the first quarter of 2018 because they need a little bit more time to work on.
There's quite a few games that don't actually have release dates other than winter of this year.
Yeah.
That I'm literally expecting any day now for them to be, we're pushing it back to.
Yeah. So, boy, I don't have very good segues today.
Nope.
I had some good segues. They weren't all bad.
No, they're good. Some good.
Don't you patronize me?
I don't patronize you. I'm not a patron.
Okay.
I don't pay you money.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, it appears that Nintendo has put the NES version of Golf into the Nintendo Switch firmware as a tribute to Satoru Iwata.
Correct.
And that if you, John was telling me, if you go to
apparently, the big thing about the reason the golf game is because apparently they weren't originally going to release this game on a cartridge when it was originally first came out because they couldn't get it small enough, and Satoru basically took time out of his day to actually figure out how to do it.
Okay.
And made it work, and it was the first time he had actually done something like that. So it's kind of like a big thing within Nintendo that's something he's known for doing.
Okay.
And so as a tribute to him, like apparently if the only way to access the game is that apparently on the date of his passing, and there's no saying on whether or not, like, apparently on that date, if you use the Joy-Con controllers to do the motion that he does in a lot of the Nintendo Direct things where he lifts his hands up and then like kind of moves his hands forward.
Yeah.
If you do that motion with the Joy-Cons, it actually just launches the game. but it has to be on that date and that date only. And I'm a little bit confused on whether or not it's that date like every year, or if it's just like that date, like as of this year or whatever, when he actually, like, you have to actually set it to the past. And if you were to set it to 2018, I want to say I read something that said you could set it to 2018 and it worked. But the thing is with the Switch, if you've connected your Switch to the internet, you can't change the date. It just reads whatever date it is, and it's permanently that way. However, if you take a Switch out of the box and don't connect it to the network, and just because it'll ask you, like, what is today's date? And if you set it to that date, apparently you can then...
Well, that's a nice Easter egg. It seems like an awful lot of trouble to go through to play NES Golf. But it's a nice tribute.
I think it was a tribute to him, and I think it's also one of those things where sometimes in Japan there's like a culture of if you do something as a tribute to someone, like, it doesn't have to be accessible by anyone.
Right.
But it's...
But you know that it's there.
There's a thing that's like that person's soul will help bring good fortune to the thing you're doing that with.
Okay.
So it's kind of them trying to say, oh, let's, hopefully Iwata will help us make the Switch a success.
Okay.
Well,
it's very sweet. Anyway.
It is. It's very sweet, and I think it's actually really cool. And I'm actually I think it'd be kind of cool if every year on that day people could play some golf.
Yeah. And last but not least, another sweet thing. Actually, I don't know why it would be sweet, as apparently it's time to welcome back the Duke. The original, you guys remember when the original Xbox,
the OG,
came out, and it had that fucking god-awful controller that was the size of a
I always referred to it. I didn't know it was called the Duke for the longest time. I always referred to it as the Bear.
Yeah.
Because of a Penny Arcade comic.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that it's called the Duke, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently they what is it? Who's the manufacturer?
Of the controller?
The controller. Like, it's not Microsoft. It's actually
I don't know.
Another company. They're known. Hyperkin.
Okay.
Hyperkin is making it, and it's USB. It's a wired controller. It connects directly to an Xbox One or Xbox One X or whatever. And and it's got a screen like that button, that thing in the on the middle. In the original, it was just a sticker. Like it wasn't like it was like a thing, like it didn't do anything. But apparently now it actually like lights up and does stuff.
It looks ridiculous.
Looks ridiculous.
It looks ridiculous.
I kind of want one.
I know you do. I remember that was probably one of my big sticking points when the original Xbox came out, was that I was very much a mouse and keyboard player, and when Halo was a thing, they wanted you to, a lot of my friends were playing Halo on the original Xbox. They wanted me to play with them. But like this was the worst, especially coming from the svelte little PS2 controller that had the nice stuff.
I don't know. I was coming from the Dreamcast.
Oh, okay. So you were already used to like a pizza box sized controller as it was.
Yeah. Now, mind you, the Xbox controller was bigger.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing about the Duke, is it was bigger than the Dreamcast controllers.
It was a big honkin' mamma jamma. Like, I don't know why it was so goddamn big, but
yeah.
Well, I say if they're going to do this, then Sony should put out. You remember the Batarang?
Oh, the Boomerang.
Yeah. I want that controller.
But that controller never actually came out.
Well, that's true, but I want it anyway. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we are going to answer your questions, and we're going to talk not about reviews, but I got a few things that are not news related that I want to discuss.
Okay.
So
all right. I'm down.
We'll be back momentarily.
All right.
And we're back, and it's time for not questions. There's two things. I don't actually have any reviews this week. I was really hoping that I was going to be able to review Dishonored 2 or the Death of the Outsider Dishonored DLC.
Oh, okay.
But I actually have quite a bit I want to talk about it for just a second.
Oh, okay.
Because, so first off, I would like to apologize to anybody who watched the dojos where I was just like, why this and why that? And a lot of that was actually explained in dialogue that we weren't really listening to when Brian and I played it.
Is this for the Dishonored thing? Or
yes, for the Death of the Outsider. So I went back. I was actually really interested because one of the things that Death of the Outsider does that I didn't know was that they totally do away with the magic vials. Your magic just regenerates, and it's just that you have 3 powers, at least in the first mission. They changed the way that the teleportation works, where you actually mark where you're going to go and then you execute. So you can actually do things where you like give yourself an out, like you set the teleport over here and then you like run out in front of the guards and go blah, 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 and they all start running after you, and then you go around a corner and then zip to a predetermined location to kind of get away from them. It's kind of cool. You can take people's faces and you can basically pretend like you basically.
So you're saying you're taking their face off.
I didn't say it, but yes, you can.
You wanted to, though.
I did.
You really wanted to.
I really did. But it's cool because it's actually something that I haven't done in a Dishonored game before, where you can, like, there'll be guards patrolling an area, and so that power, the way that it works is you have to knock the person out so they can't be dead, and you can only do it one time for each person. So once you've stolen the face of somebody, you can't do it a second time, and if somebody sees the body, then they'll start looking for that same person, and then it'll blow your cover, essentially. But what's cool about it is that while you are detected, if you stand still, it doesn't actually burn any mana. So if you stand still, you can just kind of like look and see everything that's going on, and then you can move forward. And then the third power, at least that I've gotten so far, I don't know if there's more that you get later on, is instead of the... in Dishonored, you can do the thing where you can see through walls and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, now, instead of doing that, it's basically you pause the game and you go out of body, and you can kind of fly around, and you can tag enemies now, so you can see them through walls. You can tag items, so you can find like bone shards and tag them to go find them. And you can even set a teleport location while you're doing this out-of-body thing. It's a nice little thing. But I started the DLC, and I realized, like, I don't know anything about Billy Lurk. Did you play Dishonored 2?
I did not.
Okay. So she's the woman on the ship that basically takes you around to the different places. She's like, she's kind of she's the boat captain, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really know anything about her. And then I started, and because Dowd shows back up again, and then I realized that I have never played the DLC for Dishonored 1, because it had 3 DLCs. One was Challenge Bullshit, one was called The Knife of Dunwall, and the second one was which is a Brigmore, and they were following Dowd, who was the guy who kills the Empress at the beginning of Dishonored 1.
Yeah.
And why he did that. And it turns out that Billy Lurk, the character that you're playing in Dishonored, the Death of the Outsider, is his second in command. So I actually went back and played the Dishonored 1 DLC, and I kind of have a little bit of a bone to pick, because the main bad guy, I forget what her name is, but there's this like witch woman who is the main antagonist in Dishonored 2, is introduced in the DLC for Dishonored 1. She's not really part of the Dishonored 1 story, but she's introduced, and it turns out that she was manipulating a lot of the things that were happening in Dishonored 1, and that there's this whole subplot of Dowd stopping her master plan while Corvo is rescuing the princess and doing his thing. And so it's interesting because I feel like there was a lot in Dishonored 2 that I wasn't understanding because I never played the DLC for Dishonored 1, and that the DLC for Dishonored 2, which is actually it's not just DLC because you can just buy it as a standalone package. Is a DLC sequel to the DLC of Dishonored 1, because Billy Lurk is introduced in the DLC of Dishonored 1.
Yeah.
Not in Dishonored 1, not in Dishonored 2. She's there in Dishonored 2, but there's some questions as to why. And I kind of feel a little bad about that. I mean, I feel like if you bought the Dishonored 2 that came with the enhanced version of Dishonored 1 on the PS4 and the Xbox One, that you can go back and you can play those things. But there's a part of me that thinks it's kind of crappy that the bad guy in Dishonored 2, if you haven't played the DLC for Dishonored 1, just kind of comes out of nowhere, and you don't really have a lot of information about her. I mean, you learn stuff about her over the course of the game, but that it really seems like you needed to play that DLC for Dishonored 1 in order to really get the story. Does that make sense?
No, it does. I get what you're saying.
I don't know. It galls me a little bit that, like, I started playing that DLC and I was just like, oh, I mean, everybody said it was really good. It's just, you never know with a DLC. Like, for example, it would be like if you would have a better understanding of what was going on in BioShock Infinite if you played the Minerva's Den, BioShock 2 DLC or whatever, right? It's a thing that I don't really like, because DLC should always be a separate thing, right? It shouldn't impact your experience of the main game because it's an optional content. But in this case, it seemed like you really were going to get a whole lot more out of Dishonored 2, even just the base game of Dishonored 2, if you played the DLC for Dishonored 1. Now, I'm hoping that by next week I'll have beaten the Dishonored 2, the Death of the Outsider, which I actually kind of like, because, Dowd and his old apprentice, Billy Lurk, are teaming up to kill the Outsider. And I'm like, that's cool. I mean, I feel like we don't know enough about the Outsider in the Dishonored series, and I kind of like where it's going so far. And I really like it when games give you magical powers and then don't, like in Dishonored 1, when you used your magic, after a second it would regenerate. Like there was a whole MP gauge, and it would regenerate a little bit after you used it. And so I spent a lot of Dishonored 1 like blinking and then just waiting for the little meter to go back up again, because I didn't want to start cutting into my main MP pool in case I needed to use it for something in like a big battle or something later on. And I really like this. I also really like the fact that I've never played a Dishonored game where I just fucking started murdering people. And boy, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier and more enjoyable if you're just like fucking stab. Yeah, what? I don't care. And the second thing I wanted to talk about really briefly before we got into the questions is I started playing that new Metroid game on the 3DS. I want to beat Dishonored while it's still fresh in my mind before I get to that. I don't like what they're doing with it.
Yeah, but you went in knowing you weren't going to like it.
Look, I went in wanting to be wrong. And so the main issue that I'm having with it is that there's like 3 things that I think are kind of that this game is doing that one of them is, in my opinion, inexcusable, even though I understand why they did it. But the other 2 are just like design choices that I don't really like. So you remember in the trailers for it, the melee counterattack, right?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that I don't know if I knew this, I might probably just didn't watch enough of the footage of it, was that when you're playing the Metro, what is it called? What is it? What is the subtitle on it? Anyway, do you remember?
Oh, Samus Returns.
Is it? Is it just that?
Yeah.
Anyway, so one of the things that happens in the game is that you it is just Samus Returns. Is that okay? So you're running around like a normal Metroid game, but it has this new thing where when you hold down the left bumper, you can then use the puck to aim analog in any direction all around you. And I'm not a big fan of this because unlike the previous Metroid games, or at least the Metroid games like the Metroid Fusion, Zero Mission, Super Metroid, you would use the bumpers to basically aim in a direction, but you continue to move. So you were still moving. You were just shooting at an angle up in either direction. Whereas here, when you hit that button to shoot an enemy, it really grinds your forward progress to a dead stop because you have to stop because you're using your directional button to aim instead of, you know. I think that this could have been better handled if they would have, because the D-pad is mapped to selecting your different like Aeon powers, and I think that it would have worked better if the D-pad was movement and then you just moved your thumb up to the puck to do analog aiming. That way you could just roll around and shoot. But one of the other things I don't really like is the way that this counterattack has been implemented. It's like an enemy comes at you, and at the last moment you do the counterattack, and then Samus immediately will lock onto them no matter what angle that they are from her, and then you can do a counterattack which will kill them. The thing is that if you move the directional pad at all, it breaks that lock, and then you have to hold down that left button and manually aim and shoot them. And it takes a lot more hits to kill them when you're not doing that counterattack. There's some other stuff like going into ball with the little puck that they have is very it's just kind of awkward, right? Because you're pushing down on it, you have to push down twice, once to duck and then a second time to go into a ball. You can move your thumb over and hit the touchpad to go into a ball, but it's just kind of janky. And a lot of that stuff I feel like could be solved if they would let me remap the controls. You cannot remap the controls. So like I would prefer to use the D-pad to move Samus around than the little puck because I have a hard time on the Nintendo, using that. Can't do it. But so far it hasn't exactly been a good experience. It feels hard to play in my hand, and that's something that I don't really like. And I don't like the emphasis on this counterattack system as opposed to Metroid, where it's more of a resource balance of like using missiles and ice beams and stuff to try to out damage the enemy before they can kill you, and using your skill to avoid their attacks. It feels like there's this other thing that's really leaned heavily on. I don't know. I'm going to try to get all the way through it, and hopefully I'll be able to come back and say something about it. But anyway, let's get to some questions. mail@rageselect.com is the email address. And this week, our first question comes in from Nemo Hose, who says, hi, Jeff and Sexy John. I recently completed Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, and I thought it was a great experience with a tight story. Chloe, one of my favorites, showed just how badass she is. Knowing this, I think Drake really messed up picking Elena over Chloe. Drake and Chloe have way more in common. Elena is cute, but Chloe is hot. And that voice, damn. It's the power of Claudia Black right there.
Yeah, it is.
But maybe that's just me. Are there any other couplings that seem to have better options in media or real life, like Harry and Hermione? A total fuck up by Harry. Thanks for reading my message, Nemo Hose. So people that ended up together in movies or comics or video games or whatever.
Should have totally chose the other.
Should totally chosen the other one.
I'm just trying to think.
At the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, Meryl and Johnny Sasaki get together, and it's kind of awesome and ridiculous because he's the guy that poops his pants in the Metal Gear games, and he poops his pants a lot in Metal Gear Solid 4. It's like a plot point that he poops himself in Metal Gear Solid 4. And they get together, and it's a really... Like there's this section where they're just like holding off all of these frogs like coming at them with the special forces troopers, and Meryl like wants to basically
love on the battlefield does bloom.
Yeah, sort of, pretty much. And it's ridiculous because they're basically like flirting as they murder just hundreds of people. but I always thought Meryl deserved a little bit better than that. Meryl's a great character. Like, and Jay Suzaki's primary attribute is that he poops himself quite a bit. And I'm like, who wants pooping himself guy? I don't know. I'm trying to think of other pairings in video games and movies and TV and etc. I don't know. Anything coming to mind for you?
I mean, I'm trying to think of something other than Archie and Betty and Veronica, but depending on what book you've read, he ended up with both of them at some point.
Sure. Yeah.
Like they even did a whole thing where what if Archie married Betty, and then they did a whole thing of what if he married Veronica like the next month, and they showed what his life would be like and how it would be different. And,
yeah.
And then they've also done things where it's like he never married neither of them. He got with Cherry Darling, and I know way too much about Archie.
You do know way too much about Archie.
I haven't even watched Riverdale.
Oh, but I tell you what, for anybody that was a fan of the Netflix comics, I feel like the Netflix thumbnail for Riverdale is designed to make you go, well, fuck that. Like it's like the Archie's car all like steamed up with people making out in the back
reminds
seat or
me
whatever.
of the cover for It Follows.
It does, right? Yeah, where I'm just like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
But
no, I've actually heard Riverdale's actually pretty good. I just never watched it. So
I'm trying to think of actually characters that are famous kind of couples in video games. I feel like video games a lot of times.
Scott Summers. He had. Before she totally went evil, Madeline Pryor was a good wife, but he was a dick to her.
Sure.
Like a lot of what people don't remember is that Madeline Pryor, yeah, she's the Goblin Queen or whatever the fuck it is, like later on. But when he marries her, he is a dick to her. Hardcore. Like he is constantly just every time because this is when he left the X-Men to be with her and to raise his child and have a family, and just all the time he is like. Just every time they cut to Scott Summers, it's like he is just being a dick.
Well, Scott Summers is a giant tool.
She turned evil because he's a fucking asshole.
Let's see.
He fucked that up.
Yeah.
He fucked up the whole thing with Jean Grey, but she died, and apparently she's coming back in the comics now.
I didn't even realize she was dead.
She's been dead for 15 years.
Okay, great.
In the comics, and they're going to bring her back now.
Wait, 15 years? Does that mean... Did she die?
She died in Grant
Morrison's run, and that they didn't bring her back after that?
They didn't bring her back. They had actually, like Grant Morrison said, he was going to kill her, that it would be a permanent thing. Like
with the agreement,
that it would be permanent.
Okay.
And then by that point, he had already hooked up with Emma Frost, so...
Right.
And then now he's dead, so,
Scott Summers is dead.
Yeah, Scott Summers is dead, and... he was evil when he died, so that's great.
Sure. A lot of evil.
Yeah,
a lot of evil. I'm having a real hard time kind of coming up with people where I'm like, oh man, that doesn't. I mean, I don't think Harry and Hermione would have been a good match.
No, they wouldn't. I don't think they would not have been.
Hermione needed to be with fucking punk ass Ron Weasley, push him all around and make him do whatever he wanted to. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to think here. And I'm just not really coming up with anything.
No, I can't really.
I don't know that I get that interested in like, oh no, will they or won't they, or won't they? Will they? Won't? I don't. Will they? I don't know. All right. Sorry, Nima Hose. Let's move on to Mike. Oh wait, no. I was going to skip this one. I'll read it anyway because Mike wrote in. There's not a lot to this one, so
sorry, Mike.
Yeah, Mike says, "Dear Rage Masters, I learned my lesson on pre-ordering. I got Destiny 2 via Redbox after watching some reviews online. I got burned by getting that last expansion pack of Destiny, the Iron Wolves, and tried to trade it in for 3 cents. That's right, 3 cents at my local GameStop. So here's a lesson to you fans: don't pre-order Destiny games. Just wait a few months. There are plenty of older games coming out." I can't wait for my pre-order of Shadow of War. Thanks and rage on from Mike. So Mike says, don't pre-order. I pre-ordered. Don't do as I say, not as I pre-order. Anyway.
Yeah. So he pre-ordered the last expansion to Destiny, and then he traded it in, and they only gave him 3 cents.
Apparently.
Yeah. I bet you they were
trade in.
Yeah, don't take the trade in. And also, I almost guarantee you that they turned around and sold that thing for like $30.
Well, there's a standalone expansion. So I'm trying to figure out how that worked because I thought that was I think it was a disc-based game. I thought that was a download. So,
well, I think they released a disc version of it that came with that expansion.
Of just the expansion?
Well, no, it's the full game, but with that expansion on it as well.
I'm confused. Okay, I wouldn't. If somebody offered to buy something for me for 3 cents, I would be like, you can keep your pennies.
Yeah,
I
still have my Burger King games because
Sneak King.
Yeah, fucking Sneak King, the bumper cars one, and then there was the mini bikes.
No, all I know is Sneak King because
all three of them. I got all three of them. They would only give me like a cent per game, and I was like, "Fuck you, I'll keep them."
Yeah, because that's such a great name.
Yeah,
Sneak King. All right, well, we have one question this week that's maybe a little bit more for me, John. This is from Brandon. Brandon says, "Greetings from the East Coast. I've loved your podcast, Dojos, for a long time. Glad to have been able to kick some support your way." Thanks, Brandon. This is the title of this email is Souls Question. So,
of course. Yeah.
I have never played a Dark Souls game, which is odd, as I have the first one on my 360 and the second one on my PS4 and Bloodborne on my PS4. So you bought all those games, but you haven't ever played them?
I think
Sales?
One of them may have been like a PS Plus or Xbox. Maybe, or a sale or something.
Oh, well, okay, yeah.
Like
Dark Souls 1 was a Games with Gold.
Yeah.
I don't think Bloodborne ever...
No, Bloodborne was never a PS Plus.
But Scholar of the First Sin might have been at one point.
I don't know.
Anyways. I do not have a lot of time to play games as I have a 60-hour a week job and a wife that requires attention when I'm home. I've been a little scared to start the game series as I've been told that unless you are super good, you won't get past the initial dungeon. So with this, I have a few questions. 1, does the high difficulty make it impossible for people not at a high proficiency level to get enjoyment from the game? 2, is this a game series that is worth taking time to play with limited gaming hours available, 1 to 6 hours a week? And 3, if this is a series worth getting into, what is the best game to start with in the series? Bonus unrelated questions. I know you guys have talked about possibly doing another playthrough of The Evil Within on easy mode. Do you think you could do a sequential on that to set up the release of the new game? Did you guys ever do an Undertale Dojo? Your somewhat loyal patron, Brandon. Undertale Dojo, we did. It was on Patreon. Because I was like, wow, this seems like a crazy indie game. Let's check it out. And that was like when it came out on the PC, and then we played it, and it was like, it seems all right. And then I haven't been back since. Even though I bought it on the PS4, I just haven't gotten around to playing it. And then doing an Evil Within sequential, like I feel like if Amanda and I wanted to do an Evil Within on easy sequential, we would have to stop Agents of Mayhem right now and then just like start powering through, because it's not that long until Evil Within 2 comes out this year, doesn't it?
Yeah, doesn't it come out in October?
I think so.
Like
I think
we're less than a month away.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way that we could. I mean, the first game is like it's like 13 hours or something like
I don't
that.
know.
Like we'd have to be doing 2-hour dojos. Yeah, October 13th, Friday the 13th. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, both that and the physical release version of the Friday the 13th game comes out that day.
So I think if we had have thought about it, I don't know, maybe, but I don't know at this point. No, the answer is probably not at this point, because we literally have 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks for a 12-hour game. So you're talking about 4 3-hour sequentials if we do it super fast the first time through. So sorry about that. But as far as Dark Souls goes, does the high difficulty make it impossible for people not at a high proficiency level to get any enjoyment from the game? I don't believe so.
I will, even as someone who is not a huge fan of playing the Dark Souls games, with the exception of Bloodborne, because I actually do like playing Bloodborne,
mm-hmm.
I can honestly say that I don't think the difficulty it will hinder your enjoyment. Matter of fact, you begrudged when it comes to Bloodborne, because you said he had Bloodborne, so I'll bring that up. I play the shit out of that, and I played it a lot.
Yeah.
You get pissed off because I was still in the opening area.
Yep. I never got out of that opening area.
But I really enjoyed playing it.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. I think that the misconception here is that Dark Souls is hard, but it's not hard like Super Meat Boy is hard.
Yeah,
it's not hard like Marvel vs. Capcom is hard. It's not a game that requires split-second timing. It's a game that requires you to learn the rhythm of the way that the game plays.
Yeah.
Bloodborne can get a little twitchy, a little challengey a little bit, but even Bloodborne is not that bad. It's really more about like really developing a relationship with your avatar in the game.
Yeah.
So like when you start playing Dark Souls 1, you'll probably do what just about everybody does, which is make a strength character with a big fuck off sword and a shield and heavy armor, medium roll, maybe a little bit of pyromancy, and you can just you can kind of bully Dark Souls 1 a little bit. It's not super easy, but you can do it. I would say go back and watch the video, the first Super Awesome Video Game Show that we put out talking about the mechanics of Dark Souls 1. That's a good primer. As far as where to start, I would really recommend starting with Dark Souls 1 because while 2 is messy, 3 is hard, and there's a definite difficulty progression, upward progression curve. So if you play Dark Souls 1, and then when you get to the end of Dark Souls 1, if you feel like you're jamming through it, then when you get to Dark Souls 2, it's going to be harder, but you're going to be starting from a skill level that you've developed through the course of Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1 these days, like compared to Dark Souls 3, is fucking easy cake on a bun, right? Like it's slow and easy, and it's super simple to get into. I'd recommend starting with Dark Souls 1. I'd recommend either, if you have any friends that play it, having them either help you or just be on call to ask them questions. I would really recommend not shying away from using a wiki, and I would highly recommend starting your game with a strength build character with pyromancy on the side. Make sure to level up your vitality, wear and stamina, wear heavier armor. You're going to get hit. It's going to be fine. Bloodborne, like, I don't know about that one, like where you would, I'd almost say it'd be worth it at this point to play Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, and then play Bloodborne, because it really is a separate style of game.
Yeah, I agree.
Bloodborne is a lot twitchier and dodgier than the others. Although there's also a case to be made that if he started with Bloodborne and got down the dodge timing of Bloodborne, like the dodging and parrying and counterattack, that those skills would serve you well through all 3 Dark Souls games, because you wouldn't have to rely on having a shield. You would be able to you'd be used to having dodge as your main thing instead of block. So you can take those with a grain of salt. And then, is this a game series that is worth taking time to play with limited hours available, 1 to 6 hours a week? I think so. I think that all you have to do, if you know, Brandon, if you're a patron, is look at like you and I play like an hour of Dark Souls 3 a week.
Yeah, that's what we would do. Like
Yeah, and it would take I know what to do in the areas that we've gone to for the most part. So
though it is fun to watch when he has trouble.
Last week in that archive, I had some difficulty, and this week's going to be real fun because I didn't have a chance to practice, and we've got that boss to beat. But I think that if you had, like, say, 2 hours a week, you could get through. You could say, like, this week I'm going to get through the Undead Settlement, and then next week I'm going to get through the Road of Sacrifices and, get up to the boss, right? It is kind of paced in a way that if you start getting into the rhythm of it, that you can play for a couple hours. Once you get through the first area is always going to be a harder thing because you're getting used to the way the game plays. But once you get into the rhythm of it, I feel like it's pretty easy to drop back in and do a thing. Yeah. So give it a shot. I mean, you own them already, so the worst thing that's going to happen is you bounce off of them and be like, nope. And you know what? Don't be afraid to bounce off of it and to go away and think about it and then come back in 6 months and give it another try. You go listen to Bonfireside Chat, and when they have their guests on, they ask them how they got into the Soul series, and just about to a person, every one of them is like, I wanted to play to pick the game. I wanted to play Dark Souls 2. My friends were all talking about it. I went, I put it in, I tried playing it. I was like, fuck this game. This game could eat my dick. And then I left. And then 6 months later, I came back and I was like, man, maybe I'll give it another shot. And then I kind of got into it and got rolling. So
yeah.
Brandon writes in and says, hello, Jeff and John. I want to start off by saying that I hope you guys are happy and doing well. You're my favorite video game site on the web, and it brings a smile to my face to hear you loving what you do instead of being upset by oozing dick holes in the comments.
I'm going to say it brings a smile to our faces to hear you say that.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, I have a job interview next week. It's my first serious job interview since graduating college, and I'm a little nervous. Do you have any advice for how to ace this interview, get the job, climb the ladder, hustle, take over the company, and then lording over the corporate world for my throne of $100 bills? Thanks. Have a great week. Brandon from Cincinnati. You got any advice, John?
Dress nice.
Yeah. Do dress nice.
Bathe the day before or the night before you go.
Oh man, do we have, we're going that far down into the wear shoes.
Yeah, wear shoes. Don't have any eye crusties in your eye.
Yep, that's a good one. It's hard. It's very difficult to do, Brandon, but there's a certain actually, Brandon, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I haven't interviewed for a job since I was hired on at Spill, and that interview was about 10 minutes of being told what job I was going to do, and then so you're starting on Monday, right? But the last time that I did an actual interview for a company, I find there's a certain level of not huge, but there's a certain level of kind of arrogant self-confidence that will work in your favor for coming off better to an interviewer, because confidence likes confidence, and if you can go in there and kind of just be like, fucking hire me, man. If you can kind of exude that, you don't want to actually be a dick to the person interviewing you, but you also want to make it clear that you don't want to seem desperate. You want to have a level of self-confidence, and a lot of times that's going to be if it's not doesn't come naturally to you, you may have to fake it a little bit, which can sometimes be hard.
Be on time, shake their hand, when you meet them, especially if they are, be nice, be courteous or whatever.
Yeah.
Show self-confidence. If they ask a question and you honestly don't know the answer, don't be afraid to say I don't know, but don't just be like, oh man, I don't know, I'm so sorry, I don't know. Don't do that. Just be like, well, I'm not familiar with that, but if this is something that your company deals with a lot, I'll be able to pick it up quickly. As soon as if I'm taught how to do it, if it's something you honestly don't know.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to say it, but don't say it in a way that it basically be like, I may not know it right now, but I will.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Don't say that exactly, but try to exude that kind of answer.
Yes. Also, just remember, I had an interview one time for a job that was actually well above my abilities as a person. I didn't know half the software that they wanted to know. And I was actually really relieved when it turns out I didn't get the job, because it was going to pay 3 times as much as I was getting paid currently. But it was well, if I manage to BS my way through this interview and then get the job, then I'm going to be stuck with a job that I don't know how to do. And that's a real crapshoot. So remember, that if the person interviewing you, if you don't feel like you can even do the job, if you can do the job and you can do it well, then there's no reason for you to feel nervous or uncomfortable, which I know is a thing you say, and it's not a thing that just magically happens. But try to have confidence in yourself. If you know it's a job that you can do, that you're the best person for it. If it's a job that you can't do, then you got to kind of ask yourself, do I want to jump into something so unknown? And if so, would you like to? You should probably make your level of experience known to the interviewer, so that they're not just well, we hired you to run this whole team and you don't even know how to do that, Whereas if you say, I'm really interested in this job, I'm a very fast learner, I'm proficient in what I do, I don't know exactly what you're asking me right now, but I can pick stuff up really quickly, then when you get put into the job,
and maybe even if you have something that's experience that's similar but not exact, maybe go, well, I don't know what you're talking, I'm not familiar with what you're asking, but this is an example of something similar that I'm thinking is what you're asking, and this is how I handled it. That that's definitely something to do, because they tend to like that, because that shows, oh well, at least he has a somewhat understanding of what we're asking, and it's maybe not the exact same thing, but he knows enough about the thing he talked about that he could easily apply those skills to this thing.
Absolutely.
So it's just about being confident, about being, being nice, being courteous, saying, thank you, and always say thank you at the end of the interview, regardless, even if you think the interview went bad. Say thank you, and to
absolutely.
them. All that. There's whole things on there online about how to give good interview.
Yeah, go read a thing online. They'll tell you more than we will. We'll say, go Brandon. You can't.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was literally just gonna say. But always remember, you got this.
Yeah.
No one's gonna get the job because you're the best person for the job.
Damn right.
And you're gonna walk in there and you're gonna ace it.
Go Brandon. Woo.
We believe in you.
They'd be fools.
Your favorite video gaming website believes in you.
That's right. You
put it on your resume.
That's right. You can put it on there. You can put a link to this podcast with a time code. Like, well, what about your personal references? Well, these two jackasses go, woo, go Brandon.
You got this.
All right. Michael writes in and says, hello, Jeff and John. I would like to get in on this scenario train and create a what-if scenario for you. So Rage Select has mysteriously exploded in popularity. The YouTube channel has millions of subscribers, and now promotional deals are coming in. My question is, what would you draw the line at in terms of selling out? Say, for instance, that EA offered you a year's worth of rent to promote a terrible on-disc DLC pre-order bonus, or Loot Crate has offered you money as well to hawk their overpriced box of garbage. A lot of people talk about morals and how they hate web people selling out, but these people strike me as ones who still live with their parents and don't know how the real world works. Thanks again for answering my question, and keep up the rage, Michael.
Well, this is more of a you answer. I mean, I'll answer. But
You go, no, dude, you go for it.
So
you assassinate Jeff, and now you're the leader of Rage Select.
Well, so it turns out that
that's where all the
Rage Select
popularity
is super popular.
Yeah.
Jeff has a brain aneurysm because of all the freaking out he's done because of how popular it's gone. He doesn't know how he's going to run the website.
Yeah.
He's died and left Rage Select to me in his will, which he may not know that he's left Rage Select to me in his will, but he has. He knows now.
I'm dead.
Surprise!
I don't care. I'm up in heaven playing Death Stranding right now.
But I thought it was good. You were going to play El Shaddai or whatever the heck that game was called.
Gross. Play Doodle God up in heaven. Gross. Anyway,
or Black and White.
Yeah.
But anyways, for me, it's if Loot Crate said, "Hey, we like your thing and we want to sponsor you and you're gonna hawk Loot Crate," I'm okay with that because I've subscribed to Loot Crate before. I don't necessarily like everything that they put out, but I've used it. Like that's the thing. That's where I kind of draw the lines. Like, would it be something that I would be interested in? If EA came to me and said, "We want you to promote nothing but the new Madden game," I wouldn't do that because I don't play Madden. I'd be like, guys, I'm the wrong person for that. I don't play Madden.
Yeah.
But having said that, if they were to come to me and be like, you know what, we got, I don't know, we've seen the light and we're gonna release a new Brutal Legend game, and Tim Schafer's making it, and we want you to be the thing that promotes it. Fuck yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. I would accept all the large dump truck of money, and I'd play exclusively that game.
Yeah.
Just because if it's a game that I believe in or whatever. If Capcom came up to me and said, "We want you to support our re-release of Devil May Cry 3 HD VR whatever remix," maybe that's a maybe. Fucking Atlas Games says, "Hey, we're re-releasing Catherine and we want to support you and sponsor you to advertise Catherine." Probably wouldn't do it because I didn't really care for Catherine, even though it's just Qbert.
It's not just Qbert.
The gameplay is just Qbert.
What? You have to pull boxes and pushes and pulls, right? You push.
Yeah, but
I'm thinking of that game.
But the thing is just the Qbert jumping.
Okay, but that doesn't make the entire game just Qbert.
No, I mean there's a little bit more to it, but it's just a new version of Qbert.
Michael, I think that here's the thing. I would do just about anything for money, but. No, well, that's not entirely true. I'm not. I mean, if we had 1 million subscribers, our Patreon would probably go up. But the thing is that I'm not opposed to the idea of having of pimping something out for a little extra money, but I would never hide that fact from the people.
Yeah, no, exactly.
That I was,
on that.
yeah, I would never hide that fact if they were just like, "Hey, Jeff, we want you to. We're putting out."
Kane and Lynch 3.
I kind of like Kane and Lynch. What's that? The Secret Agent Obsidian game.
Alpha Protocol?
Alpha Protocol. We're putting out Alpha Protocol.
And I kind of liked Alpha Protocol.
Jeff, we know that you've talked a lot of shit about it, so what we want is for you to go on the air and pretend like you like Alpha Protocol now and tell people that Alpha Protocol is one of your favorite games and that it's better than Dark Souls.
Oh, I would never do that.
And then I'd be like, well, I'll give you two options. One, no. Or two, I will do it, but I'm going to make it very clear that I'm being controlled by corporate overlords and being made like a zombie puppet to say these things, even though I really don't believe them. Because I could never lie to.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
I'm not a good liar anyway.
And if someone said we'll pay you $500,000 to go and promote the shitty, this game that you've previously shit on in the past, and say, oh, I recently went back to it and I'm totally wrong and it's really good. I would never do that.
Okay, wait, hold on. There is I can be bought. If they came to me and they asked me for $1 million to say to go out and just take your pick, put the words in my mouth, right? This is the old how much to suck a dick hypothetical question that you ask your friends ask you when you're 17, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, $1 million is enough for me to basically have my house paid off and not have to work for the rest of my life. So I would totally sell out for anything above $1 million, because all it takes would be selling out, and then I can just go away for a little while. You guys can all forget about me, and then come back and do what I like to do, which is play video games and talk shit on the internet.
But no, I mean, anything to advertise anything. Like if someone came to me and said, "Hey, we want you to advertise the game, this game, regardless of what it is, whether it's the game I hate the most." But if they said, "But you can only advertise the game favorably, if you can't say anything negative,"
sure,
it would literally be a case by case basis. I would have to look at what the game is. I might even ask, "Can I play it first and then get back to you?"
Yeah.
And if it's something I don't believe in, I can only say good things about, then I won't do it.
Yeah.
But if it's no, we want you to promote this game, say whatever the fuck you want though. We don't fucking care.
Yeah.
So, if you want to go online and post videos of the game, you're playing it and you being like, "Oh man, this game is hot fucking garbage." We don't care as long as you're putting the game out there. If they came to me and said that, then yes, I would. As long as I can say whatever I want about the game, I will totally take their money and promote their game. But if they are requiring me to lie about my personal opinion of said game, I have problems with that. If it's a game that I generally like, but I also have issues with it, and I'm just not allowed to explain my issues, but I do like it.
Yeah.
Because there are games that are like that. There are tons of games where I'm like, I like this game. I also recognize it's terrible. I might be more inclined to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have to praise a game that I hate or am not having fun playing, I'm not going to do it.
I will, but you have to pay me a large sums of money. You have to pay me. I've always considered that if you are willing to pay me, if you are willing to essentially buy out my credibility for enough money that I can literally, after I've destroyed my credibility, I don't have to work in this job or at all anymore, I would consider that.
I would do it for $586 million.
586. Okay. Yeah. I do it. See, I'm cheap. I do it for $1 million and a half, 1.5 million. I'll do it for 1.5 million. I'll sell out my credibility because you know what? That's one time that you're going to sell out your credibility. And then I get to get the $1.5 million. I get to go, have one of my friends one time was just like, "Oh man, how much would it take for somebody to cut off your leg?" And I was like, "I don't know, $5 million." And they were like, "Really? That's it? But what about your leg?" I'd be like, "Bitch, I can buy a new leg. I got $5 million. I got my robot leg." That's right. I can have them build me a new leg. Those scenarios never seem to understand that that's not a good thing where you sold out your principles and everything, but on the other hand, you do have $1.5 million.
Yeah,
whatever.
Like I said, I I would never, because I respect the viewers.
Yeah.
I would never do something where I'm lying to them. I think that's the big thing.
Okay.
If I'm required to lie to them about something, then I wouldn't do it. I don't care how much money they're offering. But if they're like, you have to play this game and this game only for like 1 week straight, and you have to like put up at least like 10 videos or something like that.
Sure.
You're like, that was in the contract, but you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
We don't care as long as you're playing this game. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
Like that, and I'll be like, oh no, I'll try, and I'll even give them the benefit of the doubt of trying to find nice things to say if I don't like the game.
How gracious!
But I will be like, yeah, but this game's garbage.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I think we have time for a couple more here. Kate Josie says, "Dear selectors, select ragers of the universe, by the powers of Don Clays, I have the power. I lost power during Irma, so this is a little confusing. And I was playing.
Well, because of Doncles, they now have the power.
Oh, okay.
But they lost power earlier.
Okay. Let's see. I lost power during Irma, and I was playing Yakuza Kiwami. This is the first time I've played a Yakuza game, and I am very pleasantly surprised. It's been a while since I played a Japanese game, and the Beetle minigame is fucking insane. The women have DOA individual boob mechanics. What? Why? Answer: oh, it's just Japan. You put out a request for questions, so it's going to give you 3, pick any or all, et cetera, et cetera. So 1, what was it that piqued your interest in Yakuza when it first came out? 2, what are some games that have mini games as bug nuts and weird as the Beetle Rock Paper Scissors one? And 3, are there any tales similar to power outages, cold showers, minor yet seriously annoying property damage, and shitty sleep because the AC doesn't work that y'all may have from your life? I realize this is a long email, but like I said, I haven't had power until just last night, and I'm excited. Thank you for reading my question. And that's from Kate Josie. Let's see. The first question is pretty easy, right? What attracted you to Yakuza?
I've never played a Yakuza game.
Oh, really?
I've always wanted to play it because the guy picking up a motorcycle and smashing it over a guy's head.
Oh yeah,
like that appeals to me. Like that's like I saw that in a trailer and I was like, I want to play this game.
Yep.
And then I just never got around to playing it, but I still really want to play those games.
So if let me real fast here. Let me do a quick comparison here because I think I can answer this pretty easily. A lot of it has to do with the time where it came out. So let's see. The first Yakuza video game came out in 2006 in North America. So by comparison, Grand Theft Auto 3 came out around 2001 in North America. And then let's see, when was what was the third one? San Andreas? Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see, San Andreas. So I always thought that it was that Yakuza was interesting because it was so San Andreas was 2004. The first Yakuza came out in 2006. So I always thought it was interesting because Grand Theft Auto, you got to remember, Kate, that in the early 2000s, man, Grand Theft Auto 3 was just like fucking, we ain't never seen nothing like this before. I mean, technically there were, games that were kind of like this, but a modern day open world, kind of do whatever you want to, get into trouble, do your thing. Those Grand Theft Auto games, the Grand Theft Auto 3 trilogy, GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas were just like amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And Yakuza was interesting because it seemed like it was like if I remember correctly, Yakuza was interesting because it looked like a much better looking version of Grand Theft Auto. Like Rockstar has they tend to stick more to like character motion and camera angles than they do to direct like character
likenesses
and facial expressions and things like that.
Because even 3 Vice City and San Andreas, they were a little cartoonish. Like they didn't really start trying to go. Even 4 was a little cartoonish. I would say they didn't even really try to go to like realistic looking people until recently on 5.
Yeah,
and even 5 is a little cartoonish as well.
Rockstar, like I said, I think that Rockstar has that they focus more on movement, camera angle, and audio, right, than they do on the way that things look. And so Yakuza
tries to be hyper realistic.
Looks really good. Oop, that's the wrong thing. Looks very good, and that I think was but see, I don't think I played Yakuza originally when it came out on the PS2. I think it was something I wanted to play, but never really got around to. But the more that time went on, I ended up playing Yakuza. Was it 4 when I was working at Spill? I think I did a review for that. And Yakuza is one of those games where if you just like relax for a little bit, that you get into the storyline. It's real easy to get into. It's very inscrutable right at the very beginning, but Yakuza throws enough interesting stuff at you that it's kind of cool. Let's see. As far as games that have weird mini games in them, I don't know if you know this, but Yakuza Kiwami has this game where you
the beetle thing,
which is actually a real game. In Japan, except that in Japan they're not women, they're actual beetles that are fighting each other. Games that have really fucking weirdo mini games in them. I'm trying to think. Killer is Dead. Was that the name of that game?
Might have been. I don't know.
That Suda51 game that had that like weird pervo mini game where you had to like check women out at the bar. That was a weird fucking mini game. What was the name of that game? Was it Killer is Dead? Was that a Suda51 game?
I don't know.
Okay, so here's Goichi Suda, Fire President, Killer 7, Contact Blood, No More Heroes. Wait. Oh, he's a producer on Cine Mora? That's interesting. Yeah. Killer is Dead was a really nutso Suda51 game on the PS3, 360 PC. And let's see. I bet if I just type Killer is Dead into YouTube that it'll show me that mode. But it was like a weird... It's Japanese as all hell, where you go into... you go into this mini game where you're basically, the idea is that you have to check women out. Okay. Gigolo mode. That was the name of it, where you're in a bar and like the whole point of the mini game is that you have to like, that's something different. You have to check women out with like X-ray goggles. It's real pervy and weird.
Okay.
I could say that a lot of JRPGs have weirdo stuff like Final Fantasy VII snowboarding / go on a date with Barrett to the Golden Saucer. Like there's some kind of wackadoo mini games in that. Yeah, this is such a strange mini game.
Yeah,
Suda51.
Like I'm trying to think of like just what had games that have like weird mini games, and like I part of like what I'm thinking of is like I know. Sleeping Dogs had some kind of weird mini games, though they weren't really weird. They were just, it was like karaoke and dancing and stuff like that. But,
yeah,
which is kind of the same stuff that's in Yakuza. Just Yakuza also just takes it one step further.
That's true.
But yeah, I don't know of any like weird.
I kind of consider the entire Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball series to be a weird mini game.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go. Nothing else?
No, I can't think of anything on that one. What was the third thing that was asked?
This was a harder one. Are there any tales similar to power outages, cold showers, minor yet seriously annoying property damage, and shitty sleep because the AC doesn't work that y'all may have had from your life? Man, I have stories like that. Last summer, my AC broke down 3 times, but it was just like super goddamn hot in here, and sucked that I had to pay money to get a new AC unit put in.
But. Yeah, I there's stories with that, but they're all like not very interesting. They're more just like I was really overheated and it sucked.
Well, let's move over to W's question. The former President George W. Bush writing in here. No, I'm just kidding. And they say, hello, Jeff and John. I have to start this question with a confession. I have never read a comic book in my life, which I know is a shameful thing to admit to. Yes, I was raised in a paper bag. However, I am finally ready to give this new to me form of entertainment a shot. However, when I try to pick something to start with, I am overwhelmed by the choices available. The selection is so vast, I have no idea where to begin. So I figured I would come to you to see what recommendations you may have for me. I realize this is an extremely open-ended question, so let me try to narrow it down. Whatever comic books I start with will have to be fairly readily available since I cannot spend a lot of time tracking down a rare out-of-print book. I would like a storyline that is a bit more lighthearted than dark and gritty, and I usually like characters whose morality changes from bad to good or vice versa over the course of the story, or characters that have a mix of good and bad attributes. I like thieves and roguish characters, but I'm willing to consider other types of characters as well. Also, do you have any recommendations for how to get comic books to read? The city I live in does have a brick and mortar comic book store, but I've never been in it. Thanks, W. Like, this is your question. That Dark Souls question was for me, but I haven't bought a comic book in a long time.
Well, I mean, as far as like how to get comics, I'll start with that.
Okay.
You probably should. You can definitely go into your comic shop, and if they're a decent shop in any way, shape, or form. Like, I don't know what your shop's name is, or while I do know of other shops in other states, I don't know all of them, obviously. But if they're anyone good,
I like that you had to say that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't know what every comic book store.
Yeah, well, it's like I know, like, there's a couple shops in New York that I know of. There's a couple in Los Angeles that I know of. There's a couple of in Louisiana that I know of. Like, I know of like different shops around but usually most will have friendly people that if you say, hey, never read a comic book before, I need some help. Would you be willing to guide me?
Yep.
Somehow, in most cases, the employees will be like, "Cool. What do you like and dislike?" And you just tell them exactly what you just told us, and they can go, "You know what? I got just the book for you," kind of thing. If that shop is worth a damn, I've been to some shops where their employees couldn't be bothered to do shit, and if that's the case, never fucking go there again because they don't need your business.
Yep.
But outside of that, if you don't want to go to that comic shop, Comixology is a good place to online to download some stuff, so you can easily get stuff downloadable to your tablet or to your PC if you don't have a tablet or anything like that. If you're not really cool with looking at stuff and you want physical stuff, Amazon. Amazon is a great place for comics to have shipped to you. If you want something that's a little lighthearted, All-Star Superman, I still think is great. I think Jeff would probably also say All-Star Superman's pretty good.
Love All-Star Superman.
Is a pretty good book. Try not to go with the you mentioned like rogues and kind of characters that may be somewhat unlikable and become likable or things like Rat Queens is a good one.
That's what I was thinking. I've never read it, but it seems like it would be right up there.
Rat Queens would be perfect. It's essentially it's a group of D&D, all female D&D adventurers. They're kind of all reprehensible in their own different ways, but they're good people. Like, I mean, they're assholes and they love fucking and fighting and just fuck you to the world kind of thing. But they're all Allison Murphy. In some way, shape, or form. It's literally the cast of Sparkle Fandango in a D&D setting.
Okay. I was thinking when he was saying mutable, like morality and characters that are different, I was thinking it's not exactly the most lighthearted comic. I mean, it does take some dark turns. And I don't know how it ends because I never got that far, but I was thinking Invincible might work well for that as well, because it's kind of got a lot of like superhero. It's got a lot of like common superhero DNA built into it. I mean, it's basically very Superman-ish storyline, but then it does interesting things that you wouldn't normally see with that. Also, as far as alternative, rogues, interesting. Morally complex, also lighthearted at times. Fables might not be bad. Just
Fables is pretty
series.
good. Yeah, Fables is pretty good. And these are all going to be stuff you can get at your local book. Like, you don't have to go to like these books I'm talking about. You could just probably go to like Barnes and Noble and get as well.
I mean, you might actually start by going to a library and seeing what they have.
That's another good thing. Another really good suggestion that a lot of people don't realize is that libraries do carry comic books, and they typically have like all the important ones. Fables, like you said. Yeah. Y the Last Man. That's not a lighthearted story. That one's more of a there's lighthearted moments, but I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but it's a good book.
I was also thinking you could look at this from a different perspective of, I feel like a lot of times people will decide and you don't have to pick one and stick with it, but that you might decide whether you want to explore the Marvel side of things or whether you want to explore the DC side of things, like whether you want to go find the best X-Men stories that are out there, or maybe some really good Green Lantern stories. Another thing that I used to do that I think is actually really helpful is, rather than trying to follow like you say, oh, I want to read a bunch of Wonder Woman stuff, like instead of doing it that way, I think that it's better to follow authors that you enjoy two different books, right?
Yeah.
So I like Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison has written X-Men, but he's also written Justice League, and he's also written, stuff all over the place. He's also written with The Filth, right? Is also Grant Morrison. So he's written stuff for Marvel, stuff for DC, stuff for independents.
And his stuff has also run the gamut of, sometimes he writes a book and it's funny, and sometimes he writes a book and it's fucking dark.
The difference between The Filth and Justice League is like, yeah.
I actually think Grant Morrison has written the definitive Justice League run. Like, I actually feel like his Justice League run is
it's really good.
It's hard to top that Justice League run.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. Once you start getting into it and kind of start finding stuff you like, definitely follow writers, and if you're big on art, follow artists too. Because obviously a bad artist is not going to be something you don't want to go read everything by Rob Liefeld, because that's
Travis Charest is a great artist, but he's done some crap ass books.
Yeah. But I'm trying to think of some other stuff that would be readily out there, that's not like too dark, but is a little lighthearted as well.
What you might do if you've ever watched any of the movies or shows would be to pick, like, say you watched Avengers and you're like, I liked Avengers. Why don't you go find some good runs on the Avengers comics that are going to then introduce you to more characters?
I would also recommend anything with Miss Marvel.
Okay.
Is definitely that is Miss Marvel is and I'm talking about the current Kamala Khan Miss Marvel.
Okay.
Anything with her is like, literally, that book is the book that I feel like is the best thing out there. If you're going to be doing anything like current Marvel, one writer I would definitely recommend, Mark Waid. Look for anything with Mark Waid's name on it.
Sure.
Because those are usually pretty good, and start with the first volume of his run on whatever, because usually his stuff is pretty, like, I really liked his Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. run. I even like his recent Avengers run. Apparently he's going to be taking over Captain America soon, and hopefully he can repair the shitstorm that was.
If you like, he's the one that did Astro City, right?
Yes.
Astro City is actually a very good primer for comics in general, because they're very self-contained stories that don't have any required backstory reading, but they're close enough. Like, the first arc in Astro City deals with Samaritan, who's basically Superman, and the second one deals with Confessor, who's basically Batman, and the third one deals with Jack in the Box, who's basically Spider-Man, but they don't require they're easy to get into quickly. Did Mark Waid also write Ultimate Spider-Man?
No, Ultimate Spider-Man is Brian Michael Bendis.
Okay, that was Bendis.
Yeah, Bendis is the only person who's written Ultimate Spider-Man ever in the history of Ultimate Spider-Man.
Okay, that's also another one that you may consider. I mean, Ultimate Spider-Man is like starts over. It starts Spider-Man over again, so you can get. Well, I don't know how many trades there are of it now.
There's a lot,
60 or 70.
Yeah, there's a lot, and also that. There's some stuff with that, but
did it get stupid eventually?
No. It remained good throughout it, but the Ultimate Universe doesn't exist anymore in the comics, and now Ultimate Spider-Man is part of the regular Marvel Universe.
Okay.
Which, again, confusing. Sorry, but yeah, start with the Brian Michael Bendis. I would also recommend Powers.
Powers is good.
Powers is pretty good. I mean, it can be dark at times, but
real dark.
It's especially if you like the artist on that book, Michael Avon Oeming. He has a style that's very similar to Bruce Timm. So that's kind of the way that they pitched it. Is like, it's Batman the Animated Series style of art, but it's cops who are there to deal with the superhero stuff.
Yeah.
And while it has this cartoon flair to it, it's totally like violent, vulgar, and but it can be funny when it's funny, and it's good. Like, I actually really like Powers. It got inconsistent with its release schedule towards the end, but I feel like coming in at the time that you'd be coming into it now, it's perfectly fine to start with the first volume. If you think you like it, keep going. It's really good stuff.
I'd say so. I'm going to boil all this down to say I think that the first question to maybe ask yourself is whether you want to start with superheroes, realistic stuff like Ghost World or 8-Ball or Love and Rockets or things like that, or like other where you have fantasy stuff and dark stuff, because I feel like superheroes are all kind of like one category, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got the real kind of serious slice of life stuff, and then you've got the stuff that kind of falls between the two of them, and then all of those have good examples. And then maybe once you've decided on one of those, be like, I want a really good superhero story from start to finish. I'd like it to be an X-Men story, right? So maybe somebody will be like, okay, we'll try out the trade for this arc, right? Or if you want a good, I don't even know, because I mean it's been a decade or two since I've actually read current comics.
There is a book that I actually really like, and if you go to Barnes and Noble or any bookstore, they're guaranteed to have it. But it's from Viper Comics. It's based on a script of an unpublished or unfilmed Jim Henson movie.
Oh, okay.
It was a thing that he was going to do as a short film, and he just never filmed it. I think it's called A Tale of Sand.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if I can find that, or see if that's what I think it is. I want to say it's called A Tale of Sand.
Mm-hmm.
It's the great thing about that is it's Jim Henson. Yeah, Tale of Sand. That's the art for it. You can also get it on Amazon. But the great thing about it is it's Jim Henson, so it has that kind of humor, but it's also there's very little dialogue in the book.
Okay.
So you're going into it mostly for the art, but the storytelling is really well done in it. You can buy there's a version of it that comes with a companion book that actually has the full script and some other stuff as well.
Okay.
I would definitely recommend that. That's actually one I really like. That one's just interesting in how the way the storytelling is done in it.
Yeah.
Definitely look at if you're going to look at like DC stuff, like with Batman, Superman, I say don't necessarily look like, I got to start with issue number 1, or look for just like what Batman is, what Superman is.
Yeah.
Look for individual books, like I said, All-Star Superman.
Or if you have a good comic book store, you should be able to ask them, because there'll be a run of, like we were talking about Justice League before. So when we talk about the Grant Morrison Justice League, that starts with seasons, something about
I think they even have like a
Tale of Seasons.
I think they even have like a line that's just called, JLA by Grant Morrison Volume 1,
right,
kind of thing.
But like the thing is that you could start at Rock of Ages, which I think is like the third arc that he did, and you wouldn't need to have read the Midsummer's Nightmare or the stuff that comes before that, right? You could jump into. There's plenty of places. There's plenty of on ramps in comic books that aren't. I feel like it's a misconception, kind of like Dark Souls is too hard a lot of times, that people have, where they feel like, well, I can't just start Spider-Man right in the middle. I need to start, like you said, from Spider-Man number 1. You don't have to do that. There's plenty of places that are an on-ramp, and as long as you know a little bit about the character, it's fine.
And there's a lot of books. Marvel does it too, where these are books that aren't part of any specific run. They're just there may be a mini series that was coming out that just happened to be a side, like someone had a really cool idea for something and they went, okay, turn that into a comic.
Yeah.
And then turned into a comic.
Yep.
Like there's one that was like there was like a Jimmy Olsen and Bizarro comic that came out a little while back. It's totally cartoony, and it's literally Bizarro has seen the error of his ways, but he needs to be removed from Metropolis. So Jimmy Olsen, who has become best friends with Bizarro as a way to keep him from destroying everything, decides he's going to take him to Canada and just leave him there.
You've told me about this one before.
And it's actually it's great. It's a fun comic. It's a road trip comic about Jimmy Olsen and Bizarro going on a road trip to Canada, and it's funny. Like it's very humorous. But I don't remember what it's actually called though.
Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, like, don't be afraid to just check out, like, to if someone says, "Oh, try out the story," it's not really tied to any storyline or anything. So usually those are self-contained enough that that you can get in, read that, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
Definitely the Rat Queens. I definitely recommend Rat Queens.
Okay.
I want to stress that, Rat Queens.
Okay. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. That's it. Mail@rageselect.com is the email address you can send your questions into. Get them in. We need questions. If we don't have questions, we can't answer questions. We just have to talk about a billion, million, zillion, cajillion trailers. So yeah, get them in. Let us know. I've become a very big fan recently of the hypothetical scenario. So if you guys would like to test our morality and our wills with a hypothetical scenario, do it. With that, hope everybody has a wonderful week. It's been the Rage Select Podcast. See ya.